how wrong they were.
Okay, I'm gonna go live now.
Remember when John Goodman dies?
Yeah, there are. I mean, look. Adeline and I both love this movie, clearly, but you gotta accept there are way too many characters in it.
Oh yeah,
They kill a lot of them, so it's kind of okay.
Right.
Every time I was like, if I didn't see their face, it probably wasn't a main character, like a character that like had enough lines where you're supposed to care about them. But oh my, yeah, when John Goodman got snapped, not that kind of snap though, Thanos.
Okay.
I was like, he got Cloverfielded. They Cloverfielded him.
Can I show you? Can I show you a
Hey Dylan.
This is a review I read. I found a better one that I'm gonna use in the actual episode. But do you want to hear another good review?
Sure.
Yeah.
This person on Amazon says, another Brie Larson dud. She is so robotic in this dud that did not need to be made. Her monotone acting was probably because she had to be around white guys whom she hates.
A lot of people of color in this cast.
There were just any white guys, and that's why Brie Larson was bad.
That's just,
That's what I'm like.
Fair enough.
That's why I'm always so bad on this podcast, is because I have to be around white guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
there's so much I want to say about Kong Skull
guys.
Island, but we gotta push it off. We gotta push it away.
I know. I want to talk about it real bad.
What are we talking about? What?
We're talking about how we can't talk about Kong Skull Island yet.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about we can't talk about the GameStop stock.
Oh, I mean, we
can talk about that.
I'd rather not.
It's a cultural moment happening where all of the people are realizing that stocks are made up and we can use them to bully billionaires, and now the billionaires are getting so upset that they're gonna break the stock market, just proving even more that it's not real. Just so that they can't get bullied anymore.
It's so funny that just all the time they're like, it's a stock market, there are no rules, you just have to be good at predicting. And then they're like, hey, that's against the rules, you guys can't do that.
That's like my biggest...
They got information about COVID before anybody else, so they could invest in like glove and mask companies, and that's not fucking cheating at the stock market.
It's just like basically my biggest problem with the way that we treat capitalism in America is just that I think like literally like the central ideas of like free market, like laissez-faire capitalism have a certain amount of merit to them on their own, right? But we so constantly like regulate them in the worst possible way. Like everything that we regulate is the opposite of what we should be regulating. I feel like if you're gonna make like the free market, like unregulated capitalism work, it's just completely the opposite, you know?
Unless you're a billionaire.
Well, right.
That's what makes me so mad about capitalism, because the idea is sound. It's like, if you work hard, you earn money, you get, like, it makes sense. You work hard, you get money, and then money is good. It's like, okay, great. So I work hard, I get money, and they're like, no, actually, I work less hard because I have money, and I get more money, and you work way more hard and get less money. And it's like, well, wait, hold on now. What if I also did less work and got more money? And they were like, no, you have to work hard, get little money. You're breaking the rules, sir.
Argue that Jeff Bezos works 50 million times harder than every other human being.
Yeah, just 5 billion times harder than everybody else. That's why he makes $1 billion per second. Because when he breathes, it's just way more labor than everybody else.
Yeah, he does a lot of work.
He actually has an iron lung, so
he's got the power.
Have you seen
powerful breaths?
Yeah.
Have you seen the documentaries about the people who like still have to live inside an iron lung though? It's crazy.
Yeah, because like you can't like, even if science gets better, can they like take you out of it? Like no, right?
They can be out of it for like short bouts.
I have a
pitch
pitch
they still have to live inside of it.
I have a pitch for the American economy at Joe Biden. Joe Biden, if you're listening, I have a really
Joe
good
Biden.
idea.
Oh, Joe's always listening. Joe's a long time.
Yeah. Joe. Here's my pitch, okay?
Or Kamala, you don't know.
The more money, the higher your salary is, the heavier your clothes have to be. right? That way it necessitates that you have to be working as hard as the money you're making, right? Just to like get up and
because
move
just
around.
to move takes a lot of effort.
You get
I
like
see what
weighted
you're
anklets
saying.
and wristbands and maybe like a big vest. So it's like every $10,000 you get in your salary per year, you have to add a pound to the vest that you have to wear at all times. That way, it doesn't necessarily fix income inequality, but it does fix sort of like effort inequality, you know?
The like ethics of it. And then when you
Right.
lose all your money and you're poor, you're strong as
You're
all hell,
exactly.
so you can
You're
beat all the other
so
poor
jacked.
people.
And
Yeah,
whoa,
'cause
this is
you're
a
just-
fun.
I don't know. I think if we learned anything from Mad Max Fury Road, it's that labored
did.
breaths don't always equate like justice or, you know, equitable amounts of, you know, pay or
But I feel like this does present a problem in the bodybuilder community, though, because
It does.
if you're not very rich, then you're like bodybuilding and you get super buff, but then you win the competition and suddenly you have weights around you all the time, and you're Arnold Schwarzenegger and you have like $500 million, and suddenly your capacity, you have no choice but to just get so jacked. I feel like that would
It's like an unfair advantage to be
exactly.
rich and also a bodybuilder.
It would send
because of the government mandated weights.
Right, it would send waves through the bodybuilding community.
It would. Well, but Jackson, here's the thing about bodybuilding is that that's not how they get those muscles.
Yeah,
they
I
don't
know.
get those by working out.
I know.
Because people who work out, they look like Maui from Moana. That's
What
what
about,
real
like-
muscle looks like.
What about
When
like
I was-
boxing?
Alright, so are
Rocky?
they? Well, what kind of weights are we talking about? Like a vest? Are we talking about like anklets? Are these like brass knuckles? Like what are we talking about?
I think that
Is this like the
is a
Iron
good
Man
question.
suit when it powers down and is suddenly terrifying to think of being inside of? Is it like that?
a part of me wants to say it's up to you. Like the government mandate is that you have to add a pound to your ensemble somewhere. It could be on your
Yeah.
ankles, it could be on your wrists, it could just be on a vest. Like that's up to you. But then I feel like you start getting really creative and you end up in places like sports where it suddenly becomes legal to just have like iron fists as boxing gloves that you're capable of like hitting your opponents.
But then
with,
we
you
just
know?
adapt, you know? It
I guess that's
inspires
true.
creativity.
Yeah.
Because that's what capitalism does, right? It inspires ingenuity, not the opposite. It doesn't crush it under its giant oil-rich fist. It doesn't do that.
Yeah. The
so,
cheapest
yeah.
option first.
Yeah.
Well,
Would
maybe
that also, like,
yeah,
clog
maybe
the
I'm
market,
wrong.
though?
Maybe what I'm describing is just boxing being awesome.
Yeah,
And
just
the
a
better
way
at it-
better boxing.
The
So
better
hear me
at
out,
it
hear
you
me out,
are,
hear
the
me
more
out,
you
hear me out.
win, the more money you get, the more weight you can put on your fist to beat the shit out of other people. That's your
And what if
incentive
we
to
just
win.
put them in like a big dirt pit and we just like this is just me spitballing off the top of the dome, you know. What if we just put like a lion in there?
What do you got against boxers? What?
Or like
And then-
spears, maybe?
Yeah, and then we just like get like, and then we can get like some horses in there, some fun horses for not to
Mhm.
fight though. You're not allowed to fight the horses. But then we
But
just
you'd
like
probably
put like
want-
a little like trolley on the back of them so you can like go fast, you know? And then we're just like all up in the stands around.
You
them.
probably you'd need like a lot of seats, you know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And if you
like an
commit a
arena or
crime,
something
you're
like
also
that.
just put in there. I think this is an excellent idea.
Yeah,
Hey
that's
Joe.
also how to deal with criminal, you know.
Hey Joe, you're in charge
activities.
of the boxing league right now as president.
I wonder if Joe Biden were just like, I think that they should change this rule in football. Do you think what would they do? If he like
Well,
signed
that's
an
what Teddy
executive
Roosevelt
order.
did. No, that's what Teddy Roosevelt did because his son played football, and football used to be like mega fucking deadly. Like
Right.
you would play football and you would die because you would just run into another group of boys and snap your neck and you would die.
Right.
So Teddy Roosevelt was like, "Hey, my son's in football and he's gonna fucking die. Can we like put some helmets on these boys or something?" And they
But
were like,
see-
"Fine, I guess you're the president."
Right, but that's like regulation. That is like within
That's
the
fair.
normal purview of the government. If Joe Biden was just like executive order, touchdowns are worth 5 points now instead of 6, what would they do? Like, would they do it, or
I
would they
don't
be
know.
like, no?
But like football, American football still exists outside of America, so I feel like that's.
Yeah,
That's true.
but we have
I don't think that's
domain
something they've even
over
thought about. Yeah, does that mean that the Prime Minister
America
of
is
Canada
the
can be
patron
like?
saint of American football and nothing else, really.
But I feel like basketball, they could. Well, no, go Raptors, Toronto.
Is basketball an American sport, or is
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
invented in America.
They invented it
Yeah.
with the peach crates.
Peach Peach buckets.
Peach buckets. I thought they were like square crates.
Yeah, they were, but buckets is a better word than crates.
But buckets is more fun to
mouth.
say. And that's the thing about basketball, is that all the terms just have to be fun to say, like hoops, baskets.
Yeah, hoop is good.
That's the thing. No, yeah, we give America a bad rap, but like we got some things that we made up for ourselves. We got
jazz.
We got jazz.
Yeah,
we got like
so
comic
much
books.
American culture.
Jazz and comic books and movies, kind of. We like sort of invented the basic technology, and then other people were like, what about like movies? And we were like, oh right, movies, yeah. So like kind of we can kind of claim
so
movies.
Basically America
But, like,
invented
culture.
GIFs in like the turn of the century, that everyone else is like, what if we made like a movie? And we were like, oh, but then we've reverted back to GIFs, so like who's the real victor here,
It's
you
true.
know?
It's cyclical. Everything's cyclical.
The
Dude,
cotton
like
gin.
seriously, like a turn of the century, like TikTok and
Peanut
Vine
butter.
would have been so popular, because that's literally how long all entertainment was. You would just go up to a box and it'd show
Yeah.
you like a 10-second video, and you'd be
Ooh.
like, wow, Poppy,
should
that
make
was
a-
amazing.
I should start making TikToks that are just like women leaving a factory. A train comes into the station. See if people react to it in the same way as they did the turn of the century.
But no,
Yeah.
just take TikToks, but instead of posting it on TikTok, you just put it in one of those giant boxes where it flips the paper really quickly.
Right.
Like, let's just do, oh fuck, that'd
the
be such
penny
a
arcade.
cool art exhibit. Can we actually do this?
You put
Hold
fucking
on.
vines in a big machine where you turn the crank and you just says like, yeah, I sure hope it does.
Yeah, oh my god, can we do that?
Just a
That'd be such a
potato.
good art exhibit. Banksy, call us.
That's the first thing you do when quarantine's over.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Banksy and be like, hey, I've got an
Hey.
idea for an art exhibit. You
Yeah,
can't blow this one up.
vines.
Please don't do that, Banksy.
There's something I'm fascinated by the way that we talk about Banksy. Because like
It really does like change on a dime whether or not we like him or we hate him.
well, that's the thing is like it's so weird because Banksy's been doing exactly the same thing this whole time, right?
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
part of the reason that people have soured on him, I think. But it's like in the 2010s, or not the 2010s, like in the 2000s, like through 2010, people were like, hell yeah, Banksy, punk rock, like it's cool transgressive art and it has something to say. People were like, fuck yeah, Banksy. And then suddenly, like, just the rest of culture progressed to a point where suddenly we found Banksy to be very easy and preachy and like sort of, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like John Lennon's Imagine.
Yeah,
like,
just like from a
fake-
very privileged position.
Like fake deep, you know?
Yeah.
Like just
Mhm.
saying easy things to be like, it makes you think about society, you know?
Yeah.
Which
Jokerish.
we
Joker,
liked,
skay.
which we were all super into 5 years ago, but then suddenly 5 years later we were like, actually this sucks now. Fuck you, Banksy. And it's like, is that Banksy's fault?
Yeah,
Like-
that's on us.
I don't know. And I guess the answer is like, well, if Banksy wanted to stay relevant, he should have changed something about the art he does, but you know.
I
But
heard
also- I don't-
somebody talking about Banksy. They were talking about specifically with like graffiti culture, because he does do a lot of that too.
Right.
Of like kind of like speaking over minorities who like get arrested for graffiti while
Right.
this white guy does graffiti and makes $10 billion at it, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's tricky. That's I don't know. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
lot
it's a
of.
fair
I feel like, I do feel like mainstream American culture is a lot more aware of like appropriative actions and like are more willing to call it out or like obvious versions of it out.
Right.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, it's like the pot calling the kettle black a lot of times. 'Cause
Right.
people will still like dab and twerk and be like, "Ugh, this is so fun," and like
Well, all of
like,
like,
a lot of,
drag
like-
culture is just stolen from black
Yeah,
women.
is black-
like over and over again.
Yeah.
That's proven.
which is also like it's difficult to be like, is the gay community stealing from the black community? Blah blah blah. It's tricky, but then like white girls are like, ha ha ha, OMG, T, ooh, and I oop.
Yeah.
That classic black culture phrase, ha 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 ha.
yeah, black people invented laughter. You didn't know. But I like my sister and I watched Drag Race. We watched it for quite a bit, and there's this commercial that comes on now, and it's like the most generic like voice when it comes to like reality TV commercials, and she's like, this week they're spilling all the tea. It's just so bad.
I
So,
love when commercials pick up on slang the instant people stop using it.
Yeah, exactly. That's when they hear about it.
So great.
it's it just makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. Dad,
like,
on
and
that.
this week, Chelsea and I oops, and then
And
they like
I
kind of like
oops.
look around, like, is that how you?
I feel like
is that what it is?
that was like a genre of slang, the like drag queen slang. I feel like we've fully moved on from that at this point. Like tea and wig and I oop and all that kind of
I
stuff.
never understood this. What the fuck was up with this? Was forever ago now, but the
Okay.
Visco girl like sk sound
I
that
don't
always
even
made me
fucking
want
know.
to punch whoever did it.
Yeah,
Like
that
what the
was
fuck
the
was up with
worst.
that? Yeah, that fucking sucked. Like the girls who did it, whatever, people who did it to make fun of the girls, I don't know, both equally annoying as all hell.
Yeah.
Like why are you
Yeah,
making
like,
that sound?
It's a lot of levels of me being angry, because the reason that Visco Girls became such a meme was because people like to make
Girls.
fun of what teenage girls
Right.
Exactly,
act and
exactly,
talk
exactly,
and
exactly.
like. But then also it's teenage girls appropriating gay drag culture.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah. This
So-
girls was just a bad look for everybody.
There's nothing good about it.
Yeah, either
Like-
you're just like totally tearing apart some 13-year-old girl for the stuff that she likes. It's like, dude, chill the fuck out. But at the same time, that 13-year-old girl is doing something that I think is kind of like bad. So it's like,
Yeah.
maybe we
Or,
should.
like,
I'm glad we
there's
don't do
nothing
that
wrong.
anymore.
There's nothing wrong with like appreciating and like using vernacular that a drag person would do. Like
Mhm.
I don't know. There's a few sentences that have made it into my common vernacular that I've heard drag queens use that are just funny, but I'm never
Yeah.
like, this is my culture and I thought of it.
Yeah, and you're also not homophobic the rest of the time, you know?
Well, that's what you say, but there's no proof.
Wait, hold on, Kezia.
No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. I hope. I try my best to be an ally.
Yeah. I'm trying so hard. It's the thought that counts. It's not.
But you know, the ideal would be that Visco Girls, every time they said Anna Yoop, they said copyright Jasmine Masters.
yeah.
Copyright black people.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Well, it
Shout out
was
to black
specifically
people.
Jasmine Masters who
Okay,
said
okay.
Anna Yoop, though.
Yeah. Well, cause yeah.
Yeah, I'm Jasmine Masters and I have something to say. Love Jasmine Masters. She's a champion in my mind.
I keep wanting to get into RuPaul's Drag Race just because, like, I've learned more about drag and I, like, want to, like, appreciate it as, like, an art form and a performance art. But I feel like RuPaul's Drag Race is, like, just the most mainstream way to do it and, like, is not an actual good representation of drag. And, like, RuPaul's kind of just an
Yeah.
asshole. So it's like, well,
Yeah.
I
think
know.
it's like a good way to introduce like
It's a
drag
stepping
culture
stone, yeah.
into, and it's a really cool that like the platform has like skyrocketed so much that like drag feels like, not that it wasn't a legitimate art, but that it's treated more like legitimate art.
Yeah. It's
And then
legitimized.
It like introduces you to like going out and seeing the own drag scene in your own city when it's
Yeah.
not COVID. Ha 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 ha. They started doing drag brunch in Spokane, like maybe for 2 weeks, like when it seemed like the pandemic was gonna kind of quiet down, or like when people thought that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't find out until after everything closed again.
Ah,
I'm so
dang it.
upset.
That
I
would've
just
been so
want to go
cool.
to drag brunch so bad.
See, that's nice too, because there's always the conversation about creating queer spaces that aren't sexualized or like have anything to do with beer, you know? Because like we have gay bars, which is fine, but like we want something chiller than that. So like not gay brunch. Sorry,
Gay
Gay
brunch.
brunch. Sounds like a really good idea. That sounds fun.
I know. I'm really
Oh, but
looking
speaking
forward to
of-
the day.
But speaking of, guess who, when they start their new job, eventually is about to get vaccinated? It's your boy. I'm starting a job. I'm starting a
Jasmine
job for the school
Masters.
district, and I'm about to get vaccinated. And I'm gonna go see Godzilla v Kong in IMAX and not even feel a little bit bad about it.
Yeah, I don't know when my number's gonna be up for
so
that.
low.
Because
So
I'm just a
low.
regular person.
Yeah.
Alas, I am just a horse.
But speaking of, why don't we start the show about Kong Skull Island? How about?
Yeah, let's do it. We've been chatting.
Let's
Jackson,
start
say
the
Dylan
show.
in the funny Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
What?
Are you pushing pencils, Dylan?
Dylan. Why are you thinking about Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Dylan.
Because Dylan's in the chat and he's his first time listening, and I
Right.
wanted to make a funny joke.
I don't do an Arnold
Doesn't Arnold
Schwarzenegger
Schwarzenegger have a
voice.
friend named Dylan?
Dylan S, are you Dylan Sprouse?
He's like, Dylan, he got you pushing pencils, Dylan. Isn't that a thing?
What are you talking about?
That's a thing. It's in a movie. Someone tell me what movie that is.
Is that a line from like Kindergarten Cop or something?
Maybe? I don't know. What movie is that from?
Fucking
Someone,
okay.
please.
I'm googling Arnold Schwarzenegger Dylan.
You guys, I'm drawing my own rendition of Kong Skull Island right now, and it's really good.
Oh, I guess Carl Weathers' character in Predator was named Dylan.
Yeah, because he's like, Dylan, have you pushing pencils, Dylan?
Oh.
I love
The
Carl
chat
Weathers.
could hear it right now.
Dylan!
Are you playing the video?
Yeah.
Oh,
You son of a
I won't
bitch.
speak over it then.
He weirdly doesn't have that strong of an accent in it. He sounds like, Dylan! You son
Like
of
he's
a
trying
bitch!
really hard.
Yeah.
Dylan!
Wow, I can't believe, Adeline, you might have to move over because my art skills are through the roof.
I'm fired. What are you drawing? What are you doing?
I'm drawing Kong Skull Island. Bro.
Hell yeah.
I really fucking want to draw. This movie's inspired me. I want to do like a series of like prints that are just like gorillas, but there's like moss and flowers growing on them. I think that's a good idea. I'd
Okay.
pay money for that.
I'm gonna start
I'm gonna draw.
my recording.
Okay, do it,
I'll
bitch.
start mine too.
Let's all do that.
I'm gonna call
recording
my
already.
audio file Kong
Oh.
Skong Ilong.
Kong.
Skong Igong.
It's
Well, now I'm
Skong
gonna
Island.
start over.
Ilong.
I shouldn't have had a bubble tea today.
There's an
Okay,
island
there
in
we
the
go.
Pacific.
Kong Skong Ilong.
There's an undiscovered island in the
Skong
Pacific.
Island.
They call it
Skong.
Skong Island.
Skong Island.
That's where he got the name, Jackson. It's King Skong.
King Skong.
Skong.
Okay.
Should I
Are we-
start now?
Okay, yeah. Okay, Adelaide, if
3,
you...
2, 1, recording.
Okay, boom. We'll start. Kong
Skong.
Ilong.
is
Thong.
Bongst.
long.
Movong.
Why? Okay.
Evong.
There are many words that rhyme with Kong, and you guys are just making up gibberish.
Yeah.
That's
No,
what
you're
we're
turning
doing all the
regular
time,
words
though.
to make them rhyme.
Okay.
That was,
Hey, I hate
that's
to
what
break
we
it to you,
started off
Jackson.
doing.
Skong is not a word.
neither is Ilong. That's the whole point. That's the joke.
So, okay. Here we are, Kong Skull
Oh,
Island.
we're going. Okay.
We're a few moments, we are mere weeks away from Godzilla v Kong hitting theaters across the nation.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Godzilla v Kong? The trial
Like
of
he's
already-
gonna win.
I already discussed this on Twitter, but Godzilla does not make me nearly as happy as seeing the big happy gorilla king protector boy on the screen does. So I think in that aspect alone, I think King Kong is gonna win because he's a good boy. He's the goodest boy. And unless that makes Godzilla real little, I don't think there's much of a fight there. Because, like, King Kong's pretty big, but, like, the last Godzilla movie that I watched, Godzilla was pretty fucking big, and they keep making
But they
it
did
bigger,
say-
so...
It's in this movie. It's canonical that King Kong hasn't finished growing. Like he's still a
Yeah,
young
he's
chap.
still a baby boy.
Right.
He's
So he could
a
still-
perfect baby
And
boy.
also,
He's a
he's
strapping young
fireproof,
lad.
apparently.
Yeah, we've got teen King Kong, and that's why he gets so
Right.
pissed every time he sees a helicopter, because, like, he's like a teen, and he, like,
Right.
gets mad at things.
Like, here's the thing: is I feel like Kong is more chaotic good because he's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
protector of the
Oh,
island,
absolutely,
and it seems like Godzilla is more chaotic neutral.
Right, he
Because,
doesn't have as much of an agenda.
yeah.
but like he's there when he's gotta be. Like when they let them fight, he stopped those Mothras. They weren't Mothras though. I can't remember what they are. Those
But
evil
consider-
giant bug guys.
Consider
having
of all
babies.
the kaiju that we've seen in Godzilla King of the Monsters and Godzilla, Kong is the only one who can use tools. Only guy who's got opposable thumbs.
True.
Yeah,
that's
he'll just
true.
make a gun
He could
out of
build
an
a gun.
old ship.
like he's
Yeah.
a smart guy. He's
He's a smart boy.
He can
Pretty brainy-
strategize.
brainy
He's
boy.
read a lot of books on
I
that
am
island.
really, because we brought up the
And he
point
has
that they keep saying that like Godzilla is, or not Godzilla, sorry, that King Kong is young in Skull Island. Like that's what they keep saying. It's like, oh, he's still growing. He's a baby. His parents died. It's
Right.
like that. They don't say he's a baby.
He's an
but you know what I mean.
orphan.
He's young, and they say he keeps growing.
Right.
But like, what's cool is his design in Skull Island. He doesn't look like a silverback at all. Like his head is not very big. He like doesn't have like the shape that like a silverback gorilla does. I'm really curious to see that in Godzilla versus King Kong if they're gonna like make him look more like an adult gorilla, because I think that would be really interesting, because like he doesn't look like a full-grown gorilla like in
I hope
Skull
they-
Island.
I hope they don't change any of his character design, but they just give him reading glasses. Like that's the only that's
That'd
the
be
only
so
moniker
good.
that he's middle-aged now.
You guys
Yeah.
watched the trailer,
He's like,
right?
oh, I can't see this from
No,
here.
I haven't watched the trailer.
Oh, fuck, we gotta watch the trailer. There's a really great rap rock song that plays in the back half of it. It's so
Oh
good.
fuck yeah, dude.
Where they're just like, fuck yeah, back in the game! Godzilla! V
Yeah,
Kong!
it's just like
King
it's like
Kong!
Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Can't
That's
stop
because-
now.
I wonder how long the Kong family lives, because like this, he's a baby in Skull Island, and it's gonna be 50 years in the future. Is he gonna be like an old man? Is this
Well,
gonna be
they-
son of
I
Kong?
think A lot like we don't know how they age.
Yeah, because
they don't age on
these
this
are big
island.
gorillas.
This
We don't
is
know.
Neverland.
Yeah.
Well, like also John C. Reilly was like, I've been here for so long, and looks like these island people haven't aged a bit.
That is also a
Generic.
thing. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
are we on?
Maybe
in
there's some weird
Neverland?
aging stuff going
So
on.
this is, it's not going to be that great for the stream, but I'm sending the link to the trailer to you, because I feel like it's important that you guys see it in order for us to have a well-rounded Godzilla v Kong discussion at the beginning of this
I
episode.
actually don't want to receive any information. I just want to.
We're talking precursor Kong.
Yeah, like,
and then
just,
we
like,
have a
alright.
whole
Kong versus
convo.
Godzilla, because we don't want to know what big Hollywood thinks. We want to know what us, the little guy.
I have my
thinks.
own. Adeline and I, just for you to know, podcast audience, Adeline and I are both obsessed with gorillas. Like,
Yeah, big gorilla fans.
we've always been gorilla gals.
We're the gorilla cast.
We're the gorilla gals.
A new podcast coming your way.
Like a couple years ago, we went to the zoo, and it was just funny how excited. Like we were in a group. And
yeah, no,
Adeline
I was
and I were
literally
like,
just like formulating a way
got
that
it.
like how we could run the laps like to see the gorillas like the most amount of times. I was like, we
Like-
could go this way and then lap back around and see the gorillas again.
like we were like, whoa, what if we just went back and saw the gorillas one more time?
Yeah,
like
one more time.
we saw them a lot last
That-
day.
But here's the thing about the gorillas at the Seattle Zoo is that it's really sad because last time that I saw them, their silverback had died. So when you saw them, they were literally all in mourning,
in mourning.
and sad, and it was the most heartbreaking thing in the world.
Well,
It wasn't
Upsetting.
good. It was a bad day. But now Kwame is there, and he's super nice, and it's going great.
it's pronounced Kong.
It's not.
Don't you
I
think,
think it's
all
just a
gorillas
bad
are the
move
same?
to name a
Jackson?
gorilla Kong. I think that's just.
You're just asking for trouble.
Yeah, you really are.
Have any of us, not to circle around the movie too long without talking about the movie, have any of us seen the Peter Jackson King Kong?
I have
yeah.
not because
haven't
I've heard
either.
I've
it's
seen it
5 hours
a few
long.
times.
'Cause
I
you have-
watched my grandpa loved like monster movies, so that
Right.
was one because he wanted to watch Planet of the Apes, but we couldn't rent it because my uncle was like, "Ugh, I don't want to spend money. So we watched.
Uncle's beat it
we
too.
wa- We all as a family watched the Peter Jackson version of King Kong.
Right. Because I've heard it's
So.
pretty good, but every time it's like not the kind of movie that has a reputation that's good enough and I'm gonna be like, yeah, let's fucking do it. I'm amped to watch King Kong. I'm gonna sit down and watch this 2-hour 45-minute movie. Like every time I'm like, oh, Kong, like that's supposed to be good and I want to watch it, but then I'm always like, there are a lot of like 105-minute movies like right next to it on the queue that I'd much rather sink my teeth into now.
Yeah, I could watch Planet of the Apes and just be happy.
If I ever had a good reason to watch King Kong, I would jump at the chance, but it just hasn't happened for me yet.
See, here's the problem about talking about gorillas and gorillas in film, because now I just want to watch Planet of the Apes War for the Planet of the Apes, because that is maybe the best movie ever made, and I really like it, and now I just want to watch it, you know?
Planet of
I
the
could watch
Apes,
that instead of watching Kong.
Planet of the Apes, War for the
One
Planet
day
of the Apes.
we're going to talk
Yeah,
about
that's
all
what it's
them
called.
Planet of the Apes movies, baby.
Oh,
They're so
yeah,
good.
speaking of, our 100th episode is coming up pretty soon.
Let's just do the trilogy Planet of the Apes, because, like,
all in one
good.
episode?
No.
Oh, okay.
We'll start it. It'll be a
We'll do
three-part.
Rise, so we can plan to do Rise for episode 100.
Wait, I'm saying we have episode 100, but just 3 times where it's Rise, Dawn, and War, and we just keep saying that those are all episode 100.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, episode 100 A, B, and C.
Would you rather do, because we keep saying we want to do all of the planets of the apes, the planets of the ape. Why not just have episode 100 be the original Charlton Heston Planet of the Apes?
Because I don't feel anything when I watch that one.
But it'd be a jumping off point.
I don't cry. I only want to talk about movies that make me sob.
But,
like RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop, I weep like a little baby.
Every time that guy gets dumped in like radioactive acid and then explodes like a pimple when he gets hit by that car, I cry, but maybe for the wrong reasons.
It's tricky. It's tricky. It's listen.
Yeah, so I'm totally getting us off topic, and I'm so sorry about it. But that's the thing about RoboCop is that we're like, oh, Keisha loves RoboCop. We gotta do RoboCop on the podcast. But it's been a bad time in politics and society to talk about RoboCop like consistently.
I think now's the time. I think
now's the window. We gotta do it before something else happens.
Right in. Like we just address the problems.
Yeah.
That aren't necessarily problems, but talking points.
No, I don't think
we'll
so.
just call the episode RoboCop ACAB anyway.
RoboCop, but I still don't support the police.
RoboCop, but you know. We'll just call it Robo, and we'll leave out the cop part.
So speaking of, okay, and I guess I should ask this too. Adeline, I know you've seen it. Kezia, have you seen the original 1933 King Kong?
Yes, I have.
Because that movie fucking rules.
Well, what about the King Kong with, you know, the Supreme Witch Coven? I can't think of her name now.
What?
You know, she's in the American Horror Story. Jessica Lange, like the 70s King Kong.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not even aware of that one.
What? That's the one where like she really like it's very clear that she wants to have sex with King Kong.
Right. Sounds good.
70s.
It's good. Yeah, it's in the 70s.
Here's the thing about the 1930s King Kong is, racism aside, it's a great film.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I even like pretty much anything about it besides that all the big stop motion monsters fucking kick ass.
Yeah. No, that's what's. Well,
yeah, but that's what this movie's about.
Right.
For the time, it's a great film, but like, going back and watching it, it's just a good time to watch that movie.
It's
like, it's the perfect like. You get to watch a bunch of dummies just get their heads smacked onto cave walls, and you're like, ooh. And you get to see the big stop motion gorilla, and you get to see him fight some dinosaurs, and there's some cool stuff where it's like live actors like in front of a projection that's like playing the stop motion. It's a good time. There's a monkey who I'm pretty sure was abused his entire life, and he's in the film. Yeah.
Oh, and I guess
tricky.
Before we get into the movie, I keep bringing up too much context.
That's the thing about like any time before, like I would say before like 1980, I don't like seeing animals in movies because I just know they weren't treated right. Like you just know that something's wrong with that relationship if this animal is in a movie, you know?
You guys are coming in real hot with a lot of takes this episode.
I am. I don't know what's up with me today, but this is just what we're at.
It's a hot take kind of day.
It's Hot Take Wednesday.
I just want to acknowledge that for people listening to the podcast later, that we have been bleeping out the word Godzilla this whole time, and there's gonna be a lot of them.
Yeah.
Okay, well now you had to bleep out that word too.
Well, yeah, of course we're gonna say it the rest of the episode. I just need to address that we're not saying the N word or anything. It's just Godzilla.
Well, but no, when you said we're bleeping out Godzilla, you would
It's
also
the
have
king
to
of
bleep
the
out
monsters.
that Godzilla.
That classic character, Godzilla, king of the monsters. I think people could get it from context. The reason
That
we
big
bleep
old
out the word
lizard man.
Godzilla is because we get in fights about kaijus a lot.
A lot. You would, yeah, a lot.
It's
Okay, new kaiju movie coming out, Clifford the Big Red Dog remake. So.
Yeah, that's true. So let's talk about
That'll be a good one.
this. So this is both of your guys' first time watching Kong Skull Island. Am I correct?
Yes. We
I
talked
saw
about
it
off screen.
This is one of the movies that came out when I was working at the movie theater, and I think I fully saw it like 3 times. And like everybody at the movie theater I worked with was like, yeah, I don't know, Kong Skull Island, that was kind of fine. Like it looked pretty good. It was fun. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty fine, pretty totally good, right? And I like somewhere deep down inside, I was like, I fucking love Kong Skull Island. Kong Skull Island rips shit. And I was like, I watched it because I watched it a couple of times on my own just because it was free for me because I liked it so much. And then one time I took Dad to see it. Dad was like, do you want to see a movie? And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. And so we went and saw Kong Skull Island, and he was like, yeah, I don't know, I guess it was fine or whatever. And I was like, no, you guys don't understand that this movie's great.
How dare you?
Nobody understands me.
Why is it just me?
And
Yeah, well, here's the deal, is that this movie is pretty good. It's pretty good. Like, if you like big old monster movies, big old monsters fighting, which the 3 of us love, then you're gonna love this movie. Point blank period.
I gotta say, I think my big like strike against this movie is I would say it needs more Kong in it. He's not. I need a little bit more Kong screen time. You know.
I just remember.
See, I think it's a good amount.
I just want like a little bit more. Just like there's definitely like a
fair.
span, and like after we like actually see him and he like takes down all the helicopters, and then he like leaves for a little bit till he takes that nice bath. You know, like he's gone for a hot minute.
Because this movie came out in the fever pitch of the fledgling cinematic universes, right?
Oh,
it came out like a couple of months before The Mummy with Tom Cruise. It came out a few months before Justice League. Like, it was right in that moment where it felt like they had just announced. I remember sitting in the break room at the theater reading that they had announced the Scoob Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe they were trying to do. Like,
Man,
it was right at
days.
like the highest pitch of like everybody and their brother wants to get in on the cinematic universe. And it seems like this one is the only non-comic book one that has stuck around in any meaningful way, which is fascinating. It's not what I would have expected.
Well, I think like the Kaiju Godzilla universe is like the perfect playground for that because that's what it's always been, basically. Like they never like made it a cohesive story, but it's always like it's Godzilla and Mothra and some other third thing. Like they were always doing crossover stuff. So like I don't know, I feel like it's always been like that way. Like since the conception, it was like, oh, let's get these 2 big monsters that you love. What if they punched each other? And everybody was like, oh hell yeah, I like this.
Because like every single one of these movies so far has been very divisive, but like along different lines, which I think is really fascinating because like the public at large didn't really like the Gareth Edwards, Bryan Cranston Godzilla. They were like, what the hell's up with this? Godzilla's not even in it that much. That was the thing. Everybody couldn't shut up about it. But there were like a lot of people who were like, this is the best blockbuster of the last 30 years. Like this movie's incredible because it's directed by Gareth Edwards and the special effects are insane and it feels so grounded and real and there's like a cool story going on. But some people were like, what the fuck? Where's Godzilla? Anyway. And then like that was like 2013, like 4 years pass and they're like, okay, we're going to do the cinematic universe thing. And Kong Skull Island comes out. And the general public likes it okay, but a lot of critics and, like, intellectuals hate it. because it's
because they just have to be big brains about it.
Yeah, I guess so. Because it's not as it doesn't have as complex of a story as the Godzilla movie does.
I know. It's just we're on an island and Godzilla. God, I keep calling him Godzilla because I'm an idiot.
You see, we're about to call him Gonzalez.
Yeah, Gonzalez, king of the
make
monsters.
It's not even like I'm combining King Kong and
Speedy
Godzilla.
Gonzalez.
I'm just making up some third thing off of Godzilla. I'm a dumbass.
Yeah, Speedy Gonzalez is a kaiju. Just
He is a kaiju. He's
clear.
the opposite of a kaiju. He's a pretty big mouse.
Yeah, he's big for a mouse for his species.
No, he's not. He's the size of a regular mouse.
He's fast for his species.
That doesn't make him a fucking kaiju.
Well, we'll talk about it.
Okay. But I just remember like leaving Kong Skull Island and being like, that ruled. I'm so into this movie. And being like, and you know, there's that like end credits teaser where they're like setting up like King Ghidorah and Mothra and stuff. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I was like Googling it. I was like, when's this next one going to come out? And they were like, oh, the next one. Well, I was like, I had heard of Godzilla v. Kong. So I was like, when does Godzilla vs. Kong come out? And then Google was like, well, Godzilla King of the Monsters has to come out first. And I was like, okay, when does that one come out? And they were like 2019 they're saying right now. I was like, oh, like 3 years from now? And they're like, yeah. And then like another 2 years after that is Godzilla vs. Kong. I was like, oh. Like, okay, like I probably won't be as excited about it then. Like, I feel like a completely different person than I was when Kong Skull Island came out.
Yeah.
I'm still excited to see some big old monsters fight.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I also, I watched, what's it called? The Guest, which is another movie that the guy who directed Godzilla v. Kong directed, which is just like this weird little, like, vaporwavy movie about Dan Stevens being like this super, it's very much like a John Wick, Liam Neeson style thriller where it's just like there's this lonely hero who like kills a bunch of bad guys and like beats the shit out of a bunch of people in a cool action hero-y way, but it's like lit really nicely, so you're like, hell yeah, this rules.
Yeah.
But it actually is super good, and it's made me very excited about Godzilla v. Kong. And like the whole movie's just like obsessed with like good lighting and like cool action choreography. And there's this scene where Dan Stevens goes to a bar and orders a whiskey and Tabasco sauce and starts drinking it. And then like some high school douchebags come over and they're like, hey, what's your deal? And then he throws it in their face, and you realize that the reason that's his drink of choice is because he can use it as a weapon.
Oh my god.
That's the only
so
reason to drink
good.
anything. That's why I only drink scalding hot water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the only reason.
Hot water with green onions and lemon. You can throw in people's eyes.
That you get that thrown on you and
Yeah.
you're out of commission for like a week.
Yeah, just tar-like substance, basically.
Right.
The
But
black
this
ooze.
movie, Kong Skull Island, has like the most insanely stacked cast of any blockbuster I've ever seen.
It does. It's
like.
kind of crazy how
it's
stacked this cast
like
is.
almost distracting.
Yeah.
It's like, and at a certain point, you're like, oh, John Goodman, that's fun. And then you're like, oh, hey, Samuel L. Jackson's another big role. That's cool. And then Richard Jenkins shows up, and you're like, Richard Jenkins is in this movie? Hell yeah. And then it's like, oh, and by the way, here's Brie Larson. You're like, oh, nice. And here's Tom Hiddleston. You're like, oh, okay, cool. It's like, oh, and John C. Reilly shows up too. And you're like, what? Like, how long can we keep doing this? How many times can I be surprised by celebrities showing up in this movie?
Yeah. I gotta say, when I was like Tom Hiddleston and like this really actiony role, I was like, I don't know if this is like the perfect kind of role for Tommy. I don't know if he's gonna be like believable as like the hot muscle dude, you know?
Right.
And to be fair, the character is not very much hot muscle dude, but that was just the image I had in my head of what the character was. And like he pretty much pulls it off of just being like this rugged, like it's survival guy. I think he pulls it off pretty well.
I think he's
But
good
that
in this.
scene where we introduce him and he like beats up those two dudes with like a cue ball and a pool stick is the funniest thing ever, because it's just Tom Hiddleston beating two people to unconsciousness with a thin stick.
And like traditionally, like the King Kong male protagonist is usually like some sleaze bag I'm gonna make a movie, and you're gonna star in the movie, and it's gonna be
Right.
filmed on this real island. So it's not always like a really muscly, huge man, but it is someone who has like a lot of charisma and nerve, and
Right.
those are things that Tom has.
Yeah, exactly. Like Tom Hiddleston
And rugged
definitely-
good looks.
Yeah, he's rugged. But yeah, like he definitely like finds the niche of like being an action hero guy while still being believable as Tom Hiddleston, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So here's something I learned while I was looking at the Wikipedia page regarding the cast. Apparently, this movie like ended up going through a couple different phases of development with the same script. And there was an earlier time when the role that Samuel L. Jackson played was going to be played by J.K. Simmons, which I think Sam Jackson is better. I think I still would have liked Sam Jackson. Like, as much as I love J.K. Simmons, I feel like Samuel L. Jackson is a more interesting energy to bring to that role, you know?
Yeah, I think, well, Samuel L. Jackson brings something because we're so used to him playing the good guy, like the smart, cool, confident good guy, that when he comes in and he's like this insane general who's just so messed up after like losing the Vietnam War that he's like has to win something. It's like, it's like a flip of a script to be like, oh, Samuel L. Jackson is, not only is he the bad guy, he's also like not cool and collected. He's like unhinged a little bit.
Right.
It's like, ooh, Samuel L. Jackson.
And
but I feel like
go ahead.
J.K.
Well,
Simmons, like J.K. Simmons is so good at yelling at people. Like he's so good at it. Can you imagine? Like, you know, like I also think that would be just such a good role for J.K. Simmons.
But here's
it's not
the
too off the beaten path, though.
Here's the switch up that really blows my mind. Okay, the John C. Reilly character was originally cast as Michael Keaton, which I think would have been a million times better. I think that would rule. I would love to see Michael Keaton in that role. Not that John C. Reilly isn't great in this, but like Michael Keaton would have been a whole nother level.
Yeah, that would have been so good.
I agree, because I have a couple gripes with this movie, just a couple. But one of them is sometimes the dialogue and like the actors who they chose to deliver the dialogue don't feel super timeless. Because I love John C. Reilly. He's so funny. But whenever he delivers some of those like, ha ha ha, this is a quippy one-liner, it feels not... It doesn't feel like it matches the rest of the tone that the movie is going forward with.
That's really
not
fair.
That it can't be funny, because there are some, like when that one soldier is like, we're on a boat. Well, it's kind of like a plane, a float.
Yeah.
Like that's funny, but it feels like, would they say that? Would a soldier who just fought in Vietnam say that in the 70s? I don't really know.
Right.
I would argue with that, because I think the scenes where they really take the time to just like humanize everybody are just like so nice. Like when we stop and we're like, all right, so like we got the boat and we're just gonna like play some records and we're just gonna talk, because like that is part of being a soldier, is that when everything
totally
isn't
love those.
Yeah, it's like when everything isn't hell, there is a lot of downtime, and there is a lot of just kind of sitting around waiting to get blown up. So to like show that, like even in the context of like being on an island and trying to escape, there is downtime sometimes, and then like to see like the character interactions and stuff like that is so nice. And like how we had established, like especially all like the army men, like them like talking to each other and like the way that they like have a rapport. I don't know. I feel like Plote like totally seemed totally in character with like what we had seen them like joking around about, you know?
Yeah, it seems like sometimes the dialogue feels a lot more like 2010s dialogue and not as much.
They definitely do switch up tones very quickly.
Yeah. There's this one of the soldier whose son is Billy, dear Billy.
Right.
I can't remember. I think his name is John.
The guy who gets killed by the...
Yeah, he gets chomped off screen by the skull crushers.
Skull crawlers.
But when they're flying in, he goes, "Is that a monkey?" And I laughed, even though it was super serious, because that felt correct to the tone and of the time, and it was still like obviously this is just a monkey.
Yeah.
But I do think that that line that John C. Reilly has near the end, where like a bird makes a sound off in the distance, and he's like, "That's an ant," it sounds like a bird, but it's a fucking ant. It's so
It's so
funny.
good. And then we never see the ant.
Yeah.
I really hope that was improv. That would have been so good.
It seems like it. That seems like a very John C. Reilly kind of joke.
It does.
Yeah.
But like,
But didn't John C. Reilly really make you cry at the during the credit scene though?
Oh,
Doesn't that
hell
just
yeah.
fucking get you?
Guy rules in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
I'm
does.
so glad he got his hot dog watching the
Yeah.
Cubs lose for
And
another
that's
decade.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, debating the merits of like John C. Reilly versus Michael Keaton in this role. It's like John C. Reilly has that certain round-facedness, you know?
Yeah.
He ends up being a little more precious and a little more, cute than Michael Keaton would ever be. Like, the Michael Keaton version of that would have a very different energy, I feel like.
Yeah, because when John C. Reilly's talking to soldiers when they meet up, he's like, "You guys are gonna die. You're a good bunch to die with. You should not have come here." It's kind of funny and kind of he's it's a weird tone of being funny and also being a little bit off-putting.
Right.
I feel with Michael Keaton it would have just been oh, that's fucked up. It wouldn't have the same energy.
It would have felt
as
a lot
it.
darker.
Yeah.
But okay, so headline on Kong Skull Island is that it looks fucking amazing.
It looks so pretty.
I am
It's so
obsessed
pretty.
with the colors in this movie.
What I love is how they light the fights. I would say, I feel for some reason modern action movies have a really bad problem. I guess I'm just talking about Transformers, but there are other examples too of just coloring something orange and calling it good and going home, and
Right.
it's just that's not interesting. But I feel the first fight with the helicopters is pretty orange. But then we have that fight where they're setting King Kong on fire, and it's just black and red and blue, and it's so pretty.
Yeah.
And the final fight is just at 3 p.m, and it's so green and luscious and natural. It's such a cool fight. And it
Right.
if they had just been this is orange, it wouldn't have been nearly as cool, you know?
Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
like this
Well,
movie.
it's very much King Kong. It's always been about preservation of nature and how
Mhm.
humankind usually perverts that in a lot of unsettling ways. And I really appreciate that this whole movie explores the whole gambit of the range of colors that appear in nature without being this is a rainbow. Because it's not, it's really subtle, but it's very obvious that this is an homage, and without the whole let's take Kong to New York City.
Right,
Oh no,
yeah.
now this is the most modern city in all of the world. Do you see how bad it is when we corrupt nature?
Right.
'Cause we've seen it, and it's great when he falls off the Empire State Building, but
Right.
I also am tired of watching that happen.
The I feel like this movie has a lot of Michael Bay in it visually.
It does.
And I'm trying to put my finger, obviously the big difference between this and a Michael Bay movie is just the script and the writing. But
It's
it
good, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like it has that certain amount of maximalism, but just with some added clarity to it, I guess.
Yeah.
It's Michael Bay, when he's at his biggest and best, is just totally unhinged, just totally off the rails, in every way, shape, and form. Whereas this is if you took Michael Bay and dialed it back to a reasonable amount,
Yeah, to
I would
a
also-
watchable amount, I would argue.
Hard disagree, but whatever.
To this movie's defense, I think that Michael Bay really struggles with showcasing fight scenes, and will just use so many close-ups and cuts, and to the point where there is no consistency to where anything is just physically. And this movie has such a variety of when we first see Kong, you just see his hands and his eyeballs, and it seems like it's going to be one of those teasery, you're not going to see King Kong until halfway through the movie, but then
Right.
they just barrel through and you see giant, his whole body and his whole silhouette, and then you cut to different angles. It's so good. You see all sides of King Kong and his abs. And
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in a King Kong movie or like not a lot of kaiju movies before.
Because that's the thing, I don't know, it's interesting because the thing that Guillermo del Toro does in Pacific Rim, where he like uses the camera to show how big these things are by like never having them fully in frame, you know? It feels like the cameraman is sort of like so far back, but even as far back as he is, he can't, you know, show you the entire thing all at once because they're just so big, you know? Which is like a very distinct choice, obviously, but it just annoys me. I find myself to be like, this doesn't make it more visceral, it just makes me want to see the whole thing. Like, there needs to be at least some moment where I get to see the whole thing so I have like a clear picture in my mind of what it is in order for it to feel big and cool, you know?
Yeah.
And like
at some point you need more context.
Right. And I think this is sort of taking the opposite approach. It's just like, we're going to show you the whole ass Kong. He's just going to be there. You're going to see the whole thing. You're going to see everything he does every single time. And the scale is going to come from the setting around him. Because what's cool is that every time you see Kong, he's like in contrast with a bunch of other objects that give you context for how fucking huge he is.
Yeah, like a fucking helicopter.
Right, exactly.
A mountain.
Or a whole mountain. Or a giant squid.
For some reason...
When Kong threw that squid let me tell you, I flinched. I thought I was going to get hit in the face. That
3D was coming at you.
I did see this movie in 3D. It was awesome. But like,
and Kong reaches into the theater. Whoa! Look at it.
But I'm obsessed
He's
with
gonna
like
throw a pie at you.
But I'm obsessed with like the color grading in this movie. How like when you first get into the island, like the water is all green. Like the water is always green in this movie, but like not in a gross sludgy way, in like a weirdly
like in a natural way,
like natural, like tropical kind of way. And like the thing I have, Adeline, you've heard me talk about this before. I love that when they're going through the storm at the beginning, the lightning is like pink. It's like sunset pink. And it looks so fucking so good. It looks so great. I love the way this movie is lit and colored and shot like all the way through.
Yeah.
And then
like
the title cards to show you different locations where it's like big fancy like brush stroke like craziness. I think it's
like
so
red
fun.
yeah or like how even like the first like title drop is like going into the angry eye of Kong, and then the last one too is also that. It's just like fuck yeah, dude.
God,
hell
rules.
Yeah.
So
I do like I do
rule.
think the one thing that I'm just gonna jump around a whole bunch because we were talking about it, because like at the end of the movie when we see the boat approaching the helicopters are coming to pick them up, and you see like Kong like come around the mountain and see the helicopters and get fucking pissed,
right?
And you're like, oh my god, he's gonna lose his shit, like oh no, here comes King Kong, and then they like do immediately cut to John C. Reilly getting home safely. So it's like, well, give me a minute to be like, oh, what if they didn't get out because King doesn't trust helicopters anymore, you know?
Right. And I think, you know, the theming of this movie, just speaking of the helicopters, to me, the central, like, ideological conflict of this movie is very much, like, sorry, I'm a little bit burpy, is obviously, like, very much tied to the Vietnam War, but it can also very easily apply to any other war that America has been in since then.
Yep.
Which is basically just that, like, you know, like, there was this conflict. Something happened, and we are, like, in a conflict with another power. And it was super our fault because we were sticking our nose somewhere where it shouldn't have been, right? But that's not necessarily the conflict of the movie. The conflict of the movie is, do you tough it out? Do you say, well, regardless of what happened in the past, we're in a conflict now, so we have to fight this thing because there's no other way forward? Or do you say, this is our fault and this shouldn't have happened, it's our responsibility to withdraw and not further engage in this, you know? Which is is the difference between like Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson's perspectives.
Yeah.
And
and I mean, it's totally summarized by that guy saying sometimes you don't find there isn't an enemy until you start looking for one.
Exactly.
Like that's absolutely what it's about.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that it sort of tries to frame the like initial, because there is a certain amount of culpability for the on the characters for like coming to the island and dropping the bombs in the first place, but at the end of the day they weren't trying to pick a fight explicitly, but something happened and now they're in a fight, and it's like,
but
what do you
that's the same
do
thing
from
that
there?
that's the same exact thing that happened with the Vietnam War, is that America was trying to preserve what they believed to be the most beautiful, God blessed ideal in capitalism, and so that ended up like that, and that happens all the time. Not to get like super political, but like
we did it with Vietnam, we did it with Korea. We like to do that, and it's always bad. It always doesn't end good.
What
was I gonna say? I really like. First of all, I think I love the opening of this movie so much. I think, first of all, I think it's so well shot. Because that, like, World War II, like, the pilot crashing, or not, World War II, because it's a Japanese pilot. But yeah, where they crash, and then the Japanese pilot crash, and they have, like, that fight, and then they go running. But it's just, like, the hammiest, like, most, like, over-the-top, like, old movie thing where they like pull out a gun and they like do close up of each other's eyes, and he pulls out a fucking sword and does all those like old fashioned like sword shots. Like, it's totally, especially with like a Kong movie, I think that's super smart to like make homages to like old styles of filmmaking, because Kong has always been around since the 30s, so it's very much like in that like world of like old movie genres and like old filming styles. So I love that, and then to have it be interrupted by Kong. And then you get this beautiful montage of like time progressing into the 70s. I love that montage so much. It's kind of like the montage at the end of Godzilla King of Monsters, right? It's like the radioactivity growing the whole earth again.
Yeah, it's like climate change over because of Godzilla.
Yeah, but that montage slaps. Headlines. It's like that.
Nature, life.
But I love that montage, and it totally sets up this versus situation of like America specifically, and its like obsession with technology and progressing and getting better, and like especially like in the 60s and 50s and 70s and all this time where it's like technology is accelerating at a ridiculously fast pace, to like that versus something that is literally inheritively primitive because it's a giant fucking gorilla. I think is also really interesting, because even with all of their high-tech 70s technology, the big gorilla is just like, fuck you. And the big gorilla wins, I think it creates a really cool opposition.
And it's another one of those things. I wrote a handful of different papers over the course of my film degree about movies about the Vietnam War, and there are so many things that you like always look for. And like one of the things in one of the textbooks I read is like any movie that's even tangentially about the Vietnam War, you can always find one character who is Nixon. And like Samuel L. Jackson is Nixon in this movie in terms of like the metaphor. And it's just one of those interesting things that like as soon as you hear it, you're like, you can always pinpoint one guy who like ideologically represents Richard Nixon.
It's like a trope. As soon as you hear it, you always see it.
Plus, bobblehead Nixon.
Yeah, he's there too, and he's used for some really fun shots.
But the other thing, like in terms of like big galaxy brain thematic takes about this movie about King Kong, like,
because they want you to have those takes though. Yeah. Those takes are baked in.
It's like one of the other things I think it's saying is just sort of the idea that like when you're in a group, a unit, a community of any kind, and it talks about it on a micro level with these like dozen people or whatever, but obviously it like can function as a stand-in for a country or the United States, what have you. It's like if you're trying to avoid violence, it has to be unanimous, because it only takes one person to commit violence, like it's so much easier as a group, as a community of people to commit violence than to not commit violence in a certain kind of way, which I was very fascinated by.
Yeah.
Because, like, Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson spend so much time in this movie, like, convincing all the different people to not try to blow up Kong, you know?
Yeah.
And like they are pretty successful at convincing pretty much everybody in this group to not blow up Kong. But Samuel L. Jackson is literally the only person by the end who's like, actually, no, fuck you, I am gonna blow up Kong, I think. And that's just that. Then he blows up Kong, you know?
Yeah. Well, he almost blows up Kong.
And he looks,
Kong punches him into the dirt.
He looks like a little crispy koala, you know, like those pictures from the Australian wildfires.
Okay.
Haven't you seen?
Sure.
That's what I thought of. I was like, it looks like one of those koala bears.
That was in 2020. That feels like that was 4 years ago.
It's a long ass year.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was like beginning of 2020. God, man. Anyway.
Yeah.
2020 strikes again. Am I right,
anyway,
Jackson?
It's 2021. We're on to bigger and better things.
Am I right, Jackson?
Yeah, sure.
Mood. Tag yourself.
Mood. Do you remember those Facebook memes where it was like different characters of SpongeBob or like different Harry Potter characters? And it was like, I'm the Harry Potter and my best friend is the Snape. And you just be tagged in them.
You're the only one of us who's still on Facebook, I think. Kezia.
Yeah, I don't have friends on Facebook.
That was in 2010.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I don't remember
that was it when I was in middle school.
Okay.
Yeah, that does seem like a middle school phenomenon. Anyway.
Yeah, that's not something that I would participate in now.
Kezia, if you had to what character from SpongeBob do you think you are?
Oh, I'm a Gary.
Yeah.
Huh, okay. Lots to
I
unpack
don't
there.
Jackson, you are such a my leg. You really are. You're a Taurus, and that just radiates that energy.
Jackson's not a Taurus. I'm a Taurus. He's an Aquarius. We went through this.
No, I'm a Leo.
No, he's a Leo.
Oh, why did I say Aquarius? I know you're a Leo.
Because he's a fishy boy, like
it's Aquarius
SpongeBob.
season. Aquarius
Adeline,
isn't a fish. Pisces is a fish.
What are you, Adeline?
A Cancer.
A Cancer.
That's right. Okay.
I'm sorry I called you an Aquarius. I know that you're a Leo.
I kept wanting
Even
to
though
say.
you don't have Leo energy.
I wanted to say Scorpio, but Anna's a Scorpio. That's what I was remembering.
Oh, that means Anna's toxic, Jackson.
Oh yeah.
I
remember
only her tail though.
The only reason I can remember my and her zodiac signs is because those are the cool ones. Those are the tough, scary animals.
Yeah, this is a lion and a scorpion.
The lion.
I'm
and
a
the
crab.
scorpion. Yeah.
I am a Taurus, but I was also born in the year of the ox in the Chinese zodiac, which for most of my life, I only really knew about the Chinese zodiac. So
does the Chinese zodiac function to like predict your personality and stuff? They don't do that, do they?
Yeah, no, it does. Like in similar ways, but I also don't believe in that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it'll be like the year of the ox gets along well with the year of the snake, but not very well with the year of the pig, which is stupid because
it just seems like too
some of my
broad a
best
time
friends
frame.
are year of the
yeah. Well, because here's the thing about the Chinese zodiac is that it's not interesting with your peers because guess what? All of my friends are year of the dragon because we're all like within 2 years of each other. So it's like, well, hey.
I would push back a little bit just being Chinese and being like it's not the same, but it is very much like culturally relevant, especially like within family members. Like I remember when I came of age, like I got like a jade like carving of my year, like I was born year of the ox and everyone has one and you like hang it on your bed and you wear it for special occasions. So it's important, but it's different. It's not this like it. You can't cling on to it the same way that white girls do.
You can't with like zodiac, yeah.
Right.
I just watched a whole video educating white people about jade bracelets, so I feel more informed about that subject now.
Oh my god, when I was young, I got a jade bracelet from my grandma, and I was doing the dishes, and I don't like the way that like wet feels on my like friction wise, you know?
Yeah, when it's like something on you when you're wet. So
I like tried to take it off and it shattered. It shattered on the floor.
Oh no.
It was
I think
mortifying.
That's
it's a lot. There's a lot of problems with it. And
it's a bad omen.
like bad luck, bad spirits, but also so expensive.
Yeah,
So
especially if it's like a good jade bracelet.
Yeah, no, it's
True.
it is the kind that like when you put it on, it never comes off your body because you grow into it.
Yeah.
So
And it's supposed to like
I was-
change color with like your aura, but in a way that sounds better when I'm not saying it, because I'm white. You know what I mean?
I like to
yeah,
imagine
it was upsetting.
it's like your jade bracelet shatters and you're like, oh no, that's bad luck. Does it mean anything more specific than that? And then you Google it and it's like, if your jade bracelet, it portends that you're about to spend like $130 on something in the near future. Joke being, it's your replacement jade bracelet. Never mind. Whatever.
Got you. Jackson. See,
I'm sorry, I
I'm
got
more woke,
distracted
Jackson.
'cause
I'm more
my
woke
dog
than
started-
you because I watched a 10-second TikTok about this. So obviously I'm the most educated here. But you can't buy them, Jackson. They have to be gifted to you. So if you could just check your privilege real
So
quick.
your family member is going to have to spend $130 or whatever.
Yeah,
on
someone else is
it's bad luck for somebody else.
It's true. There's a lot of ways to get bad luck though. And a lot of ways to bring good luck that are so like you have to cut your hair
Is
the
that
day
a one?
before New Year. Yeah.
That's fun.
Like cut your hair and wash it. You have to wear new clothes, get money.
Oh, that's
It's
nice.
Chinese New Year is my favorite holiday. It's all of the best holidays wrapped into one.
Because do you do
So-
like, are there like presents involved? I know there's a lot of cool like festivities, but
I mean, like there's money in little red envelopes and candy.
oh,
and-
there's money in the envelope.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh,
Money,
yeah.
you say?
and like you get new clothes and you get like my favorite foods are there. It's the best holiday. It's so good. It's coming up February 12th if you'd like to celebrate.
I
Yeah, 'cause
already
I remember-
faked my bar mitzvah, but maybe.
But who? Like, I remember Spokane Falls was gonna do a big New Year's like celebration, but that was as the school was closing down the first time for COVID, so they canceled it. And I was like,
Yeah.
huh? It was sad,
No,
sad news.
sad.
Yeah,
I still celebrated. We didn't have a celebration.
yeah.
I mean, I
would
still
hope so.
in that I cleaned my house and talked to my family. The important things for New Year's.
So, Samuel L. Jackson in this movie. I don't
Yes.
know what it is about him. I almost feel bad for him. No other actor has to repeat lines from other movies they're in as much as he does, right?
Yeah.
Like, it feels like every time Samuel L. Jackson shows up in something, he has to say, I double dare you, motherfucker, or hold on to your butts, or something like that. And then the helicopters is called, one of the helicopters is called Fox 5, which is like a really obvious Pulp Fiction reference. It's like, why is this only Samuel L. Jackson? Why do people, like, feel the need to reference Samuel L. Jackson movies so often whenever he's in a movie?
I don't know. I don't know.
It
Maybe just because
feels
he's wildly
almost-
successful. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It kind of feels like it harkens back to that like white writers don't always necessarily know what to do with like long successful black actors, you know?
Right.
Like they're like, oh, if Samuel L. Jackson's gonna be in here, how many of his movies do we have to reference?
He
Because
has to
get it,
say the
I had
thing.
like Wes Anderson struggle bus. We don't need to talk about that right now.
God.
But I think I don't know, or that is just like, get it? Because Samuel L. Jackson's a meme. Ha 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 ha.
Right.
I do. Maybe it's just because of like the genre that like Samuel L. Jackson very much inhabits like the action genre.
Mhm.
So they feel like because it's also an action movie, they can like clearly reference other action movies, and because it's Samuel L. Jackson and it's iconic, it's just like in the same sphere. So they can be like,
Right.
hey, looky, hee hee.
Why are
Yeah.
Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson in so many movies together? What's up with that?
And maybe they're secretly best friends. Do
Yeah,
you
I
think
mean,
they
I
get
guess
along?
so.
Maybe.
They must be, because he's in Unicorn Store, which was like the movie that she directed.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to
Yeah, maybe they're
assume-
just buds.
Yeah, they must just be
Yeah.
buds. It just seems like a weird thing, because Brie Larson's like 30 and Samuel L. Jackson's like 70.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
Samuel L.
like-
Jackson's like
Friendship's
90.
the
How
greatest.
old is Samuel L. Jackson?
I could look it
It's-
up. He's well over
He's in
60,
his
though.
70s though. Right?
He
Like
might
Last
not
time
be
I heard
quite
his
either.
age, I was like like more surprised than like he's like 79. How old is he?
Well, like
Oh.
when
He's 72.
John...
What the fuck?
72.
That's what I said. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I said, right?
What the
I know
fuck?
ages, you guys.
That's so insane.
Well, while I was watching this movie, I was like, it's weird to think that John C. Reilly is younger than Samuel L. Jackson, and he's playing this character that's been marooned on an island for 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like he would be older.
And you know what's wild? Samuel L. Jackson is going to be the lead of a long-form Disney Plus prestige television show 4 years from now. That Secret Invasion show is going to premiere in, like, 2023. He'll be, like, 76 years old. Like, what the fuck?
I don't know what it is with Hollywood right now, but just, like, old men are just, like, thriving. Like, oh, what's his name? Cowboy.
Jeff Goldblum. Oh.
No, Cowboy Man.
Cowboy Man?
The
Clint
old man
Eastwood?
direct movies, Donkey.
Clint Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood.
Clint
The
Eastwood.
mule.
You knew
Cowboy
what I meant.
We got there.
Donkey. Clint Eastwood's Donkey. Anyway, but yeah, like Clint Eastwood is what, like 90? How old is Clint Eastwood?
Last time we checked, he was exactly 90. I don't know if he's had a birthday since then.
When that was, who knows? But yeah, and he's like just like directing and starring in movies.
Yeah.
And starring in movies where he has threesomes with people. So I guess Hollywood is just all aboard the old man train
So wild.
recently.
But it's just like, and I
Yeah,
hear about Samuel L.
nostalgia.
Jackson that he'll like take any like big action role, you know. But like his one thing, because he's 72 years old, he's like, I won't run. No running. That's like
Really
my
fair. That's really,
hard
really
line
fair.
in the sand. Like I can fake whatever like fight choreography or whatever you need me to do, but there's no way to fake running, and I won't be doing
Yeah.
it.
Which is like the only thing in Captain Marvel where you like it. The facade of young Samuel L. Jackson goes away for just a second.
Right.
Crumbles just
When-
a little bit.
When they're like, run! And he's just like, maybe jogging.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, whoopity. But
Oh,
I
man.
like the scenario of Samuel Jackson won't run, so they have to get a stunt double to run. So they're just forcing some other old black man to run, so Samuel Jackson doesn't have to. It's just such a
That's
funny,
power.
just a
That's
funny
power
idea to me.
Hollywood.
Ugh. I will never be able to get over how good the de-aging tech in Captain Marvel is for Samuel L.
Oh,
Jackson.
that's crazy.
Because we've spent so much time talking about like what movies it looks super bad in, you know, and like there was a certain example that is kind of a spoiler recently of de-aging technology that looked atrocious. But
Which that's debatable because I don't super agree with that.
okay, well,
I think it
whatever.
looks fine.
What are we talking about?
We can't tell you,
Adeline,
Adeline.
You gotta freaking.
Oh,
I
it's-
couldn't
I can't even
say.
tell you what it's a spoiler for. It's fine.
Is it a Star Wars? Is it a Star Wars?
But Captain Marvel, Samuel L. Jackson, you literally never even notice it for a second that it's not really him. It is insane how good he looks.
Unless
in that
he's
movie.
running.
Unless he's running, right. Well, I was going to say, and that's the other thing, like the Irishman, when they're trying to do it there, and it's like anytime Robert De Niro needs to like move too much, you're just like, that is a 90-year-old man. That man's
Yeah.
not
Worried
40.
about him.
There's
Yeah.
just some gestures that aren't young. Just
It's like
when
in Polar
Tom
Express
Hanks
when they had Tom
plays a
Hanks.
boy.
Yep, exactly.
We were all there. We've all seen
I
that
got to
movie
tell-
recently.
My friend Gus, I got to tell him the other day that Tom Hanks plays the majority of roles in the Polar Express, and he was like, yo, what the fuck? And I was like, yeah, man, that's the best part of the Polar Express, that Tom Hanks plays every character.
Ugh.
I thought about watching Beowulf, but I don't know why I didn't, because I think I'm gonna pull the trigger tonight though.
Okay,
I
okay.
just-
Tintin.
'cause I-
Tintin is so much better.
I know,
haven't
but
seen
there's just I
Beowulf,
just
Adeline.
wanna.
I haven't. But
And here's the
Tintin
thing:
is
is
good.
that in Beowulf, like Crispin Glover, all of his lines are in Old English, and that makes me want to go back and rewatch
Yeah, fuck
it.
yeah. You know who rules is Crispin Glover. When is Crispin Glover not good?
Crispin.
I can't think of any more Crispin Glover movies than Back to the Future 1
Which he rules
and
in.
Beowulf.
And Beowulf, which
Yeah,
he
he's
rules
great.
in.
Yeah.
Fucking, did you ever watch American Gods?
I have not seen that, no.
I've only seen the first season, but he plays the, like, big corporate evil bad guy, and it's so wild. Because it's Crispin Glover, and he's doing the biggest, weirdest performance as just, like, the like, billionaire, like, Illuminati controls the world from a locked room kind of guy, and he's just like, but it doesn't matter what kind of salsa it is, chunky, smooth, they're still buying salsa. It's one of his good lines. It's really good.
Husband, starfish.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
We're talking about DH.
There's so many great behind the scenes videos from Back to the Future of Crispin Glover just acting like an insane person. Because he is like the sort of actor who's just like big sort of abstract expressionist performer, you know. He wants to be true to feelings and ideas more than any sort of relative reality going on in a movie. And there's this one shot where it's him and Michael J. Fox having a conversation, and like it's like a close-up on Michael J. Fox, and he's saying something, and then you just see this broom like swipe through the air in front of his face. You just hear Robert Zemeckis being like, Crispin, what are you doing? He's like, I'm sweeping the area, and he's just like waving a broom around.
What a nut.
Like, okay, I don't think that's what I want to do for this scene, Crispin, but it's so good.
Maybe keep that in your back pocket. Maybe we'll find some place for it.
Exactly.
What a nut. I love him.
It's so good. Crispin Glover rules. So, okay, I've complained on this podcast before about how movies aren't as slimy as they used to be. Like, we don't get as much goo.
Pretty damn slimy.
Say again?
This movie's pretty damn slimy.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, movies were all about slime in the 80s and 90s. It was
it was like, here's our slime
City.
Movie, and then we'll like put an alien in there or something, and they're like sold $1 million.
Lots of slime in the 80s and 90s. And I felt refreshed by the amount of slime there was in this movie. It's really just one shot. When that guy hits the spider and his guts like fall out onto his face, it's like
also, spoiler warning for the ending, when Kong pulls out all of the guts.
That's not slime though. Slime has to be real. Computer generated slime doesn't count.
Okay, fine. But it was pretty great.
Yeah,
the thing about this movie is that my big like no-nos when it comes to like gore is I don't like inside of the body stuff. I don't like it. That's why I don't like Blade 2. I fucking hate it. No, like not like blood or stuff, like rib cage stuff especially, but like I don't know.
Okay.
But there was like some stuff I was like, this movie's not gonna be gory. It's King Kong. Maybe he'll rip like a dinosaur in half. It won't be that bad. But then that fucking guy gets skewered by that giant fucking spider, and I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave the planet. I wanted to never think about anything ever again. I was ready to throw it all away as soon as that giant spider happened.
Yeah, them bamboo legs.
It's
kind of creepy.
It's so good.
Fuck it, it fucking sucks so bad. But then I think the big cute wood beetle makes up for how fucking much I hate that dumb spider.
That log bug.
Log bug
so
is
cute,
so good.
little beetle.
It's like a stick
but
bug,
the log
but it's
bug
big.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah.
I liked those big old cows.
The big,
those
big like water buffaloes are cool.
They're like mossy.
Oh, yeah.
All the animals in this are great. Like the birds too, the weird birds that chop that guy's arm off.
Yeah.
Oh my! I do. Yeah. What did he do to deserve that?
Nothing.
He was a nerd, Kezia.
He was like scared to go on this island full of monsters, which is fair enough.
It's like Jurassic Park. It's like Jurassic Park. You always gotta have a nerd or two that you can graphically destroy.
Jurassic Park, most of the time, the like nerds who get destroyed are like bad guys. Like they're like selfish and greedy, and this guy was just like reasonably nervous to go on.
At least he
expedition.
wasn't on the toilet, because they really did the nerds so dirty.
But that guy sucks, so. He was a bad guy.
He was a lawyer.
Fine.
He was fuck lawyers.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he was there to steal intellectual property or whatever.
Yeah. As cool as the animals in this movie are, I feel like they all pretty much feel real. Like in this island where it's like the specific ecosystem, they all feel like they like make sense in the ecosystem. Like all the big bugs and the big bison, it's like, oh, they're big because Kong is big, and they are kind of weird because they're like only on this island. So it's like, yeah, I gotcha. I think the Skull Crushers are just there to look like cool dinosaurs, and that's it, because they don't feel real in any capacity. Like, they don't fit the same, like, they don't even seem like hunters or like apex predators. They literally just seem like demon monster fantasy dragon boys. Like, they don't feel like, real like everything else does.
And only come out when you wake them up on accident. Like,
yeah, exactly. They don't feel grounded in
awake.
reality like everything else is.
Which, well, I think that's fine though, because I think there are like spiritual aspects of King Kong that go back, and it feels like this is some kind of mythological bone dragon.
Right.
That comes out only when
it did like kill his parents. I guess there is a mythology going on.
Right.
He's an orphan, Adeline. He's an orphan.
This poor boy.
This little boy.
You abandoned your boy.
And I do really enjoy the character design. Like, I like that they only have 2 legs, and then they use their tails.
They look
like
super
a little
balanced.
snake balance.
Yeah.
Like, that's dope as hell. It's
you
sick,
want to know,
and I like how big they are.
You want to know what scene is BS though? Is the one
yes,
where Samuel L. Jackson's like, we gotta go to this place through the monster field to find that guy. And even though later you find out he doesn't actually want to find that guy, it's just an excuse to get to the weapons. But regardless, there's that moment where like they're fighting the big monster, and then it happens to vomit up a guy's skull and his dog tags as one convenient package that Tom Hiddleston can find and be like, oh, he's dead. It's like, okay, fuck
that's
off.
fair. But
it's worth it when with the gas, the like green gas goes off.
Yeah, that fight in the elephant boneyard is just great.
It's very good. I don't mean to say that like sequence doesn't totally kick ass, but like that
like
idea, that plot progression is no bueno.
Like, they easily could have, because they already do this, walk through the rest of the forest and then like find his bloody letters to his son.
Right.
Like, I would have done it.
Like, they find out anyway that he's not alive. Like, they don't need to collect his dog tags.
As sad as I was to see Johnny Goodman get janked by that big lizard man, I am so happy that it's probably the coolest death, in that the camera malfunctions and then the big horrifying dinosaur eats the camera, and the camera like goes off as he's being swallowed and then continues to go off while they fight it, and it's just the coolest thing on the planet.
So sick.
And it's also a big dumb excuse for Tom Hiddleston to put on a gas mask and also pick up a samurai sword.
Yeah, hell yeah. No,
that's how Samuel L. Jackson dies in Deep Blue Sea too, though.
Oh. But I'm obsessed with
most sharky.
I'm just obsessed with the fact that this movie features a sequence in which John C. Reilly, a beardy, grizzled old John C. Reilly, takes out a samurai sword and attacks a giant dinosaur with it.
Yeah,
like,
man.
That's the sickest shit that's ever happened.
And then Tom Hiddleston in the green gas, like he's in an Imagine Dragons music video.
Yeah, exactly. God, it's so good.
Also, that guy that's just carrying cans of poison gas, I guess. Whatever.
Like tear gas or something.
And it says, like, comically large poison gas.
That all have big skulls and crossbones, and it's this vibrant green gas. Whatever.
Yeah, just so you're aware.
I am low-key pretty upset that John Goodman is like stuck on the Connors seemingly forever, because John Goodman's like among my favorite actors, and he's barely in anything anymore because he takes up so much of his time on the sequel to Roseanne.
He does. He has a good
Connors.
He's happy there. I just want him to be happy.
Just let him be happy, Jackson.
Everybody says it's pretty good and it's worth watching, and he's good on it, but it's like, I don't know. Did you guys know that in The Connors, the story is that Roseanne Barr died of a heart attack?
Yeah, fuck yeah,
that's
dude.
how they. that's how they moved along.
Yeah, they just fucking
It's so
killed
good.
her. This
Yeah.
is so insane to me.
I would have
Like,
loved it if they were like, yeah, that fucking piano got dropped right on her.
yeah.
It's daring. It's daring to kill off the person who created the
Yeah.
show and
Did
stars
you
it.
hear what happened to Roseanne? She got cut in half with a machete.
She got chomped by a skull crusher.
Yeah. But like John Goodman is one of those old guys that's like getting up there. He's like where I'm like starting to get like worried about him because like
Right.
on the
Little
Connors,
nervy.
like you can like feel how old he is. It's like, oh,
Right.
John Goodman, I'm worried about
Yeah, you can see his wrinkly neck, and you're like, oh,
That's how I
no.
feel about Harrison Ford every time he's not reading the script. He just seems like an old man who's just like totally not there
Yeah,
anymore.
he's just
you know?
ready to go to sleep forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are they making a 5th Indiana Jones movie?
Let
Okay, so
Harrison
hey.
Ford sleep.
I want to take bets. Do you think John Goodman is older or younger than Samuel L. Jackson?
Probably
I'm
younger.
gonna go 74.
I
Okay.
think he's like
74
six.
on
I think he's
Goodman.
late 60s.
I think he's 70 even. That's my guess. John Goodman
Okay.
is 68. Samuel L. Jackson is a
Damn.
full 4 years older than John Goodman is.
Yeah, and John Goodman's slowing
Dang.
down.
Yeah,
John
exactly.
Goodman.
Ugh,
He
that's
looks
so wild.
He looks okay though. Like
yeah, he looks good.
Samuel L. Jackson is exceptionally young for his age.
Right.
Yeah. Samuel Jackson's got. I almost said black magic, but like the other kind of black magic, not the, not hashtag black magic, like the regular.
Okay,
black
okay, yeah,
magic.
He
sure.
actually just casts spells to keep himself living. Yeah.
But I mean, like John Goodman's lost like a ton of weight since he's been on
Oh,
the
he has,
Connors,
Yeah.
right?
That
I mean-
contributes to the wrinkly neck, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Even I was gonna say, even in this movie, he's a lot thinner than he was in some other things in his past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
In the past.
we had a
Like-
whole text conversation about this a while ago, but John Goodman has never been nominated for an Oscar. How
Yeah.
insane is that?
I just don't even understand why he hasn't been nominated.
Yeah.
Like once.
Yeah.
It doesn't
neither
make sense.
Has Amy Adams been nominated?
Yeah.
Yeah, she has
Okay,
been.
good.
She just didn't get it for Arrival that one year.
Okay, gotcha. Because she fucking should have. Because Arrival is so fucking
Yeah.
good, and she's so good in it.
Absolutely.
So
God.
good.
Amy Adams deserves an Oscar. She's so good. Anyway,
Um, but like,
fucking Leonardo
Yeah,
DiCaprio.
but,
Fuck
like,
off.
it's also interesting to me that John Goodman has carved out this weird little niche lately of like really smart guy who is too into certain conspiracy theories and might be crazy. Like that's what
Yeah,
he does.
He's a
in-
little baddie.
That's what he does in this. That's what he does in 10 Cloverfield Lane. That's what he does in Flight. He's always like a guy who seems really smart but might be totally off his rocker, maybe.
Yeah, and like the movie like goes back and forth and proving him right, and
Right.
also making you still think he's crazy. It's good. It's good stuff.
Which you gotta be a little bit to be like, the only way to prove that
There's a big
giant
gorilla.
monsters exist is to just bomb this random ass island.
Right?
Which is also, I kind of wish that there was a little more that we knew about John Goodman, like
Yeah.
his intentions behind, like when I was a soldier or something, I saw
Right.
a big old monster, and now I gotta prove that the Loch Ness monster exists,
Mhm.
and that's been my whole like. But also, there are a lot of characters in this movie, so like they had to introduce John C. Reilly to set up that storyline later. So like
Mhm.
where that would have been in place, like John Goodman witnessing King Kong or something
Right.
at some point in time, just got replaced with this. Just tricky, a little
Doesn't he
tricky
say-
to navigate.
In that first walk and talk, doesn't he
Yeah.
have a line that's like, "Oh, I saw something one time and I've been obsessed ever since," or something like
Yeah,
lazy
but like
that?
it's lazy. I'd rather like.
Well, no, he has
see
it when
that he-
Samuel Jackson's like, "Hey, I'm gonna shoot you." He's like, "Hey, I used to be a soldier and everybody died and I saw a thing," and then everybody
know,
tried
he
to tell me
says
a
it.
do thing.
I
It's good.
I
I think that's enough.
understand.
I think
I
that's
don't
enough. I think if the movie tells you, I think that's enough.
But I
It's the
disagree.
Wreck-It Ralph rules. The movie told
Telling,
you, so
not
you can't
showing.
get mad.
Yeah.
I would say, like, what if they just had John Goodman in the same fleet as John C. Reilly, and he was flying alongside
Yeah.
him
What if they knew
and
each
saw
other?
King Kong? Like, why wouldn't they just do that?
Right.
I feel like it doesn't take up any more time, and then you understand where he's coming from. And then
That's
you're
fair,
like,
that's
oh
fair.
yeah, he was a soldier because I saw him and he did see King Kong. So he has a reason to come back, and like that way it just feels a little more connected and a lot less of like ooh, I know that there's monsters out there, even though I'm just saying that. Just like
Right.
Bryan Cranston in the Godzilla movie. Like,
Right.
He's right.
yeah.
But he's
He-
right. He's not crazy, Kezia. He's right.
Remember?
He is right.
Remember when
I
J.K.
wish I
Simmons was that guy in Terminator Genesis? He was good at that.
So good in that cut. I just want J.K. Simmons to be in everything. Can J.K. Simmons and Samuel L. Jackson just like
kind of
stand next to
is.
each other and deliver the same lines? He kind of is in everything. He was in The Snowman. Why was he in that?
Why was he in that?
Why was he in that film?
Ugh.
He was in Palm Springs. He was great in that movie.
Do we want to talk about the whole Spider-Man 3 thing right now, or do we want to save that for another time?
The what?
What?
All the casting announcements about Spider-Man 3, how like Jamie Foxx
Oh.
and fucking Alfred Molina are all coming back, and it's apparently gonna be some kind of
did
weird
not know
Spider-Verse
that.
thing. You didn't know
I
that?
knew- I knew it was
have
gonna be a weird
I've heard
Spider-Verse
no
thing.
news somehow.
So yeah, they announced, because not only is J.K. Simmons already back because he was in Far From Home,
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Everything I've ever wanted, honestly.
but they cast Jamie Foxx as Electro. They were specific. They weren't like Jamie Foxx in an unspecified role. They were like, no,
They
Jamie
didn't
Foxx.
Jessica Chastain him.
Yeah, they're like Jamie Foxx as Electro and Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus. Like, they're back.
Oh, dip!
And it's like, and they've also confirmed that Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be a supporting character as Doctor Strange. And it's like, is that what they're doing? Or are they just pulling a move where they're deciding to pull back old actors because it's fun and people like them? Or are they literally Dr. Octopus and Electro from the Sam Raimi and Mark Webb movies through the multiverse attacking Tom
That
Holland's
would be-
Spider-Man?
I would love if that's how they open up the multiverse though, because I'm ready. I'm ready for the MCU to get into that multiverse
Right.
lifestyle.
Yeah,
Because it can happen in person.
Isn't there another theory that Deadpool might be in it? Like that's a thing
Yeah,
I've heard.
Because they finally confirmed a Deadpool 3. Like, there was like a
Yeah.
real true announcement where Kevin Feige was like, Deadpool 3 is on the slate, it's going to be rated R, it's going to be a Marvel Studios project.
Yeah.
So clearly they're figuring something out with that. I don't know if they're going to try to figure out some kind of actual
I mean,
in-canon
Marvel is
explanation.
definitely in their rebellious phase. They're like, hey, fuck it. Like, especially with how good Spider-Verse did, I would not be surprised at all. If they're like, all right, fucking that one crazy Spider-Man story with, like, Madam Web, and we're gonna all the
Right.
Spider-Man all the time. Let's go. Multiverse, let's go. Let's do it. Like, I
Yeah.
would not be surprised at all.
I'm willing to bet, I would put down a crisp $100 bill that, because people are like, oh, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire definitely coming back if they're doing all this. I put down a crisp, shiny $100 bill. They show up in a post-credit scene, not in the body of the movie. They tease it for later. They figure out something,
Yeah.
kick it later down the line.
Well, because you don't want to. I feel like that would be too much. It's a difference between having our boy, our Spider Boy, Tom Holland, having him like fight old villains, be like, oh, it's a Spider-Verse. I think that's something. I think having all the Spider-Man, especially all the cinematic Spider-Man back, I
Right.
think that's too much. I think that's.
But okay, you know how like there's like rumors that Chris Evans might come back for another
yeah.
Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Like, what if he comes back as Johnny Storm?
Oh, no.
Wouldn't that be sick?
I want him
Wouldn't
to
that
be...
dope?
I want him to be in a couple more things as, like, old Joe Biden, Steve Rogers.
Hell
Okay,
yeah.
but like, wouldn't
Can
it
we
be
get Joe
cool,
Biden to play
though?
Cassie?
If he played both, if he did both,
That would be fun.
Like we're
I
like it
would-
feels like we're
you know
getting
what?
close to like that's like modern cinematic viewers are getting closer to being like okay with that kind of
Right.
weird ass shit.
Don't you think it would be more likely that they would pull Michael B. Jordan instead, though?
But they can do it all. They can do both of those.
Yeah, I guess
things.
that's true.
If
I
it's a
can't-
multiverse, yeah, you just have two Johnny Blazes
It's
and
true.
they're best friends, and maybe
That's
they're
the
gay.
point. That's the point. Oh my god! I'm
Adeline,
getting
you're
pumped
saying
now.
that Avengers 5,
Yeah.
there's a B plot in which Johnny Storm, played by Chris Evans, and Johnny Storm, played by Michael B. Jordan, fall in love with each other.
So they
Yes.
kiss.
Okay, noted.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, Jackson, you got a problem with that?
I cannot get over how good of a cast the 2015 Fantastic Four movie has. Like,
I know, it's such a shame.
when you
like,
hear,
it actually
like,
depresses me.
yeah, when you hear like Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller, Kate Mara, J.B. Bell, Fantastic Four, you're like, holy shit, that's the best thing I've ever heard. Like, you would be, I was so psyched about it, and then it was, you know, the most colossal failure in modern film history.
Yeah,
we all know. We all know what happens.
We don't need to
just so
speak
wild.
of it.
But yeah, I don't know, because clearly they're pulling some kind of multiverse nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because
I love the multiverse.
not only is Doctor Strange 2 called Multiverse of Madness, but Sam Raimi is also directing it. And it's like, I feel like they're bringing on Sam Raimi explicitly so maybe they could pull in Tobey Maguire in it, right?
I really like the idea of the next Spider-Man movie and just being like Doctor Strange being like, hey Peter, I'm gonna try something, and then all shit breaks loose and he's like, all right, bye, and then he has his movie where he's like, oh, I figured it out actually, and then he does it correctly. That's what I want.
But
Wow.
yeah, and they bring up in the
so
chat right
excited.
now too that Michael Keaton is gonna be back for the Flash movie as Batman again. Presumably as like some alternate universe old Batman,
It's
which
like
is
old
wild.
Man, yeah, Batman. Yeah, like in the animated Flash Batman movie. What's that one called?
Flashpoint.
Which one?
Flashpoint.
Oh,
yeah.
I just watched that. I
Um,
love
to get
Thomas
into the
Wayne as
animated Batman movies because everybody says they're phenomenal. and I
They're
just
so
haven't
good.
I
checked
don't
them out.
really like
So
that
good.
because they're always like panel
I
for panel
like
like the
them.
comic books, and it's like, why don't I just read the comic books?
Because you don't know how to read.
Some people enjoy
me.
more different types of mediums, and I think it's okay that
Yeah.
you can.
It's like
translate
just to
them
give
into-
it like an audiobook, Jackson.
Yeah, I guess.
Like they also did Flashpoint in the Flash television show, and
That's true.
it
That
was
was
also
wild.
entertaining and exciting there too.
But that's
And
an
it's
different.
proof that you can do multiverse stuff in live action, and
Yeah.
it works.
For an
And-
audience, yeah.
It just seems so
I'm
funny that
fuming
it's
now.
like it seems like that's like Warner Brothers and Marvel both. It seems like that's their like ace in the hole, right? It's like we've hit the peak of like what superheroes can naturally be. And it's like anything, if you're just sticking to the status quo, like you're gonna get varying results moving forward from here. People seem like they care as much as they can right now. And like the only way that you can escalate it is to play your like trump card of like bring back all the old stuff that people liked, you know?
Yeah.
Bring Michael Keaton back, bring Tobey Maguire back, bring Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus back, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, I'm torn on like whether or not I think that's cool and interesting or whether I think that's lame and
Who
Bureaucratic.
played Venom in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3?
Topher Grace.
Topher Grace. First of all,
Topher
Sam
Grace,
Muri is our
star
friend
of
from
this-
youth group in high school.
Jackson, what? What I
70s
said?
show.
You said Sam Muri instead of Sam Raimi. He was
Oh,
a-
I heard
Raimi.
Sam Raimi.
Listen, I'm big dumb and don't know how to talk. But I was gonna say, so you told me the actor's name. What was the actor's name?
Topher Grace.
Topher Grace. I don't want him to come back.
I think
Topher
he
I
can.
don't know. I
Say
think it
dead.
would be a fun cameo. It would be a fun cameo.
should all
But he
come
was
back.
maybe the worst Venom. There's only two
I
of
don't
them.
know.
But he's
That's
definitely
not
really
worse than
fair.
two.
Have you ever
I feel
seen
like that's
that?
not super fair.
Have you ever seen that
You see
mashup
Topher's
of?
Grace coming out of the symbiote isn't the most hilarious, awful, like juxtaposition of
He was just
regular guy
miscast.
voice coming out of Monster Alien.
He was miscast in the role. That's not his fault.
Have you seen that supercut, Kezia, of Tim Robinson and I Think You Could Leave, like spliced next to what's his name? Tom Hardy's line readings in Venom. And it's like
No.
exactly the
God.
same cadence and like delivery.
So that's right up my alley.
Yeah,
I feel
hold
like
on.
I need to watch that
I
right
might,
now.
I'll figure it out. I'll find it. It was just one of those Twitter things that kind of came and went, and I don't know if I could find it anymore.
Oh man, I'll look it up. That's so funny.
That's just one of those
I
things.
love.
Apparently, it's like a fun fact that like the easiest American accent for English people to do is like a Brooklyn, New York accent.
Yeah,
And like
Yeah.
Tom
that
Hardy's
was
going
the original
so hard
European
on that.
accent.
It's
it makes
close
sense.
to their own accent. Yeah, like Harvard. That's Boston, but whatever. I'm walking here.
You'll just get me stuck talking on accents because it's so interesting. Because they always say that like the Boston accent is probably the closest that we have to like what they like actually sounded in like colonial times and stuff.
Right.
Because that's where all the settlers came. Yeah, that's where all the settlers came from. And so it makes sense that that's what they looked at, because they don't have the other countries of like Scotland and just all the other accents like kind of mixing together. They don't have that. They just have the Boston accent.
Yeah, I get really fired up about stuff like that because people also get real mad. They're like, American English is not real English, and you're stupid Americans for calling a zucchini not a courgette, blah, 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 blah. And it just makes me so mad because I've been a part of a lot of discourses. People get mad. They're like, Americans are dumb, or like Americans are like, oh, you're just mad. But like linguistically, like if you're actually talking about anybody who studies linguistics, like that's just how languages work. And there's lots of different dialects. And I could go on. I get really mad about dialects.
But the thing, the modern like relationship between like, especially like England and America, is the whole thing of like, I see it's like the biggest discourse is like on TikTok, because of course it's like people reacting to each other with like stitches and stuff of people being like, haha, people in England have funny accents, haha, crumpet, lol, what, like, haha, and then an English person immediately responding with, at least we don't have school shootings like every single goddamn time, and
That's
everyone
fair.
being like, hey, don't do that, because that is not an accurate that is not an okay response to somebody joking about your accent. That's not cool, Europe.
Tricky.
And they're like, yeah, but you guys are racist and terrible. And it's like, do you want to talk about colonization or
Oh
like,
wait,
no?
can I speak to the one thing that kind of bothered me about this movie, because it does reference
Is it the Asian woman who has maybe 2 lines and doesn't do anything?
I mean, it's that they use the Vietnam War as a backdrop for this movie, and talk about how foreign people and the people who are cast as your enemies are actually just people.
Right.
But they never let anyone talk. Like the Japanese soldier who becomes John C. Reilly's friend off screen, never talks. You know that they had a relationship, but you never hear from him. You hardly hear from the one scientist woman. There's literally a whole tribe of indigenous people who are voiceless.
Right, yeah.
And that, it really bothers me. Like in 2017, there's a movie that's like trying to talk about unity and talk about how important it is to learn about other people and learn about other cultures and respect them. And they don't get to use words. Like John C. Reilly is just speaking for them. And he's like, this is what they say. It's very important to them, but they just stand silently and like don't even get to emote, which just like, it really bothers me, like just my whole life hearing people talk about like how stoic and voiceless like older Eastern Asian people tend to be, which is just so far removed from the truth that it kind of stings that it's perpetuated more in this movie. But
especially when one of the galaxy brain takes that's like baked in there is that like the people who take a second to listen to the tribes and listen to the people of the island that they're at are the ones who end up being like right and getting the full story and end up being the good guys. But like, it's a point is that they're listening to the people, but the people don't get to talk at all, and it sucks.
Right.
And there's
it's
a lot of
bummer.
like, which is more just like kind of light racism. TM. It's like when they go to Vietnam to talk to Tom Hiddleston, or where do they go? Are they in Vietnam?
Yeah.
Vietnam.
Yeah, where they go to talk to Tom Hiddleston, and there's just like 40 Asian prostitutes in the background, and just like in every single shot that we can fit, and it's like, well, this is. Did you need that? Did you need to like continue that stereotype that we forced onto Asian women? Do we need to continue that?
Well, and sort of in the same vein, if we're going to talk about like things we are like ideologically against in this movie, the thing, I mean, not that stuff doesn't bother me. I was thinking that stuff too. I'm very smart and woke, and I also thought that, just for the record.
I also.
Me too.
I'm an ally.
But there's this thing, because, like, you know, if you're viewing this whole thing as, like, a metaphor for, like, wartime conflict and, like, Vietnam specifically, and, like, Kong sort of, like, represents the Viet Cong, like, that's all cool and interesting, and it's like, oh, it's this thing, and we didn't mean to be here, but do we continue the fight, or do we pull out, or yada, yada, yada. But then at the end, when they're, like, making the decision about whether or not to, like, I mean, not making the decision, trying to convince Samuel L. Jackson not to, like, blow up Kong, it weirdly becomes very, like, transactional. It's like, we need to not blow up Kong because he's the only one who can stop us from this other evil thing. It's like, well, no.
Yeah.
We should not blow up Kong because it would be a shitty thing to do, to blow up Kong. He's a guy, you know?
Yeah.
And,
He's
like...
a good boy.
I feel like...
Like, he's exhibited consciousness and isn't just, like, stopping a threat that is considered bad by American standards.
Right.
Cough, cough, communism, cough, cough.
Well, yeah, but it's like, it would be like saying, like, oh, we shouldn't go to war in Vietnam because it would benefit us to not do that. It's like, no, we shouldn't go to war in Vietnam because there's no reason to go to war in Vietnam. There's no reason to blow people up and kill them, you know?
I mean, you could argue that they're just using that argument for Samuel L. Jackson because that's the only argument he would ever accept, you know?
Yeah, but it's still like a practicality of the script.
Yeah.
And like, it is, they consciously chose to have the
subconscious.
But, like, they chose to have it framed around, like, the 1944 and the 1970s, where America very much had, like, an issue with fighting Asian countries.
Right.
Like, it was intentional. So, and they chose to make it set here. So I just, it bums me out a little bit, especially having, like, a lot of my family was impacted by World War II and the Vietnam War. So it is just it sucks a little bit, but but when I don't pay attention to those parts, I like the big monster parts of the movie.
I like the big gorilla.
Well,
I was gonna say, because the chat's talking about this, and the one thing that is cool about this movie racially is how many Black actors are just, like, in the main team, and how many are, like, different types of characters that don't just feel like racial tropes. Like, it's cool that Samuel Jackson is that, like, corporal, like, captain, and also the villain, and then you have the scientist guy, and then you just have the foot soldier guy. Like, it makes me think of what's the joke in Aziz Ansari's show? What was it called? The Master of None. Yeah, where he makes the joke, it's like Black people have gotten past the 2-person rule, where that you can have one more than 2 people in a movie without it being a Black movie, you know? Right. It made me think of that, where it's like, we have a really good, like, number of Black actors in it, if that's, like, if you're meeting some woke quota, you know?
Right.
But, like, at least, that's nice, at least, that we have a good number of Black actors. And, like, yeah, the 2 of them, and not all of them die. 2 of the Black actors get out of there totally fine.
Right.
And, like, Samuel Jackson does get killed, but he's not the only Black guy, and he's also the villain. So it's like, it's fine. It evens out.
But so one last thing I want to say, just thematically, Galaxy Brain, that I think is really smart, is the moment where, I don't know the name of this actor, the guy who looks like Gary Sinise, the, like, asshole foot soldier, whatever that guy's name was.
The guy who eats beans.
Yeah. At that moment at the end, because he's very much, like, on Samuel L. Jackson's side, where he's like, we gotta fight, we gotta, like, finish this thing off. But then...
Enemies is enemies.
Yeah, but then he has that moment where he, like, uncorks the gas canisters and is about to do his big heroic thing where he blows up the monster, and then he just gets his shit rocked and he explodes on the side of a cliff. Is, like... You know, if you're gonna think like that, if you're gonna think like we have to finish this thing, there is a death toll associated with that. There is a loss of life associated with that, no matter which way you swing it. And you don't really think of it as being you ever when you're making that kind of decision. But hey, guess what? A lot of the times it's you. You know, you are gonna fight this thing to the end. You're gonna bullheadedly just go through with it. But, like, bad news, you're gonna get your shit rocked by a big dinosaur. I know you thought that it would be somebody else getting their shit rocked, but it's just as likely it's gonna be you personally, you know?
Yeah. Which is very far removed from like American understanding. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
like even when there are family members who have been involved in the military, it just seems like our understanding of war and its impact, especially the victims of war, it just seems very much removed from our understanding. Like, we're not just blowing up empty buildings.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
exactly. When
Yeah.
they're like, send our boys to war. And it's like, oh, so cool. Cool. Let's send these college students off to die. Cool. Cool stuff.
Yeah. I would love it if someday soon, like the next Vietnam War movie isn't about the soldiers who were there. Like a very popular movie for like American audiences to see. It would be great if like the main focus, if not the total focus, was on like actual Vietnamese people.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it just seems, even like the only like really pop culture focus I can think of is Miss Saigon, and it's
Right.
still
Yeah.
like majority, like at least half of it is from the perspective of like a white soldier.
Right.
Which, yeah, you know,
You
baby
wanna hear
steps, I guess.
a weird memory from college I have? In one of my
Sure.
Yes.
communications classes, my professor was talking about something else, and he happened to mention that he was reading a book about the Vietnam War, and this white girl like raised her hand, and he was like, "Oh yeah, do you have something to say?" She was like, "I think you should try reading a book about the Vietnam War that's actually by a Vietnamese author." And he was like, it is by a Vietnamese author," and she was just like, "Good." I was like,
Didn't even wait
Yeah.
to listen to what the book was.
yeah. It's just
She was
like,
on it. She knew what she wanted.
Yeah. It's like, okay, sure, fine.
Have you ever tried listening to other people? I, as a white woman, would know. My feminism is not sectional.
It's not, yeah, it's not speaking
intersectional.
over other people. Let me put on my pussy hat and move on.
It was just so funny. I was just like, and that was that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and then they were done.
I just think about that a lot.
Yep.
Oh man.
I think it is.
It's so tricky.
Oh, and I just like sort of in the setup of this movie, like just the idea of having a photographer in the cast. Because like so much of these sorts of movies are about like, this is like a secret thing. This is like a, some kind of, it's like a big monster that the world doesn't know about. So like setting up that there's a photographer there, like instantly sets up this like sort of pre-tension of just like, is she gonna take a bunch of pictures of Kong and show them to people? Like, what's gonna happen to her that's gonna keep her from telling the world about Kong? Or will she be able to tell the world about Kong? It's like, just immediately, just that idea of her being there sets up a lot of interesting, meta-narrative tensions that I think is really
I was
fun.
trying to think about it, because I've talked about is it the Bechdel test? Is that the one where two women talk to each other?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm having my like ADD is going crazy today. I don't know what's up. But the Bechdel test of two women talking to each other, because I was thinking about the cast and like terms of like diversity, just because I was thinking about it. And it's like we have black people there, we have one Asian person, and we have two women. But it's the person who fits the most of those, like if we're talking about like diversity points, like I don't know, because it's a tough conversation, because the conversation of just like how many black people do we have there is not real diversity and yada yada yada. But the Dr. Sang song, what's her name?
I don't remember a character's
I
name.
could not tell you.
Exactly,
actress's
like
name
her,
is
like
Jin
the
Tian.
Yeah, which is
Asian doctor
another
there.
big bummer.
Yeah, is that I'm just trying to think of why she's in the movie, because she doesn't do anything or
Right.
interact with anybody. There's a weird implied romance between her and like the scientist guy,
Right.
but they talk like one time and she like opens a can by herself, and that's literally all she
Right.
does. We never see her in a combat scene. We never see her when things are going bad. She like weirdly pops in and out of reality, like when we want her to be in a scene and when we don't. Like she literally serves no function.
Right.
She doesn't even like give us a perspective she's not like, she could have been like the Vietnamese like perspective. That's what she
Which is
could
what
have
I
been.
thought. I thought that like
That's what I thought she was
originally
gonna
she
be
was
too,
gonna
and
be
she
like the translator or something. Like they knew there would be
yeah,
indigenous people there, and like
and she
she was
just
like a linguist or something. But
yeah,
she's
or like
not.
yeah, like she would just be anything, and she
Right.
literally wasn't anything.
So I do have a little
Yeah.
bit of insight into that because the director of this
Yeah,
movie,
I also read.
Jordan Vogt Rogers, was like, it's one of those. This is like a thing that's becoming more and more popular lately, where you get a guy who directed like a small indie Sundance movie, and then just be like, "Great, do you want to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I guess." And they do it, and the studio like kind of pushes them around, and they don't really get to do what they want to do, and they could be like, "Oh, that kid who directed it did a bad
Screwed
job
up.
if it bombs, you know."
Yeah.
They can like blame it on this like young 26-year-old director.
Yeah.
And like he's very open about sort of the process of making this movie and saying like, hey, like these were the ideas I had and the studio wanted different things, and he's like been very explicit in like speaking about like the compromises he had to make and like what he would rather have done. And he's like, I'm still proud of the movie, I still think it turned out really well, but you know, I had to do this and I had to give up this, and there's way too many characters in it, I know that, and like all that kind of stuff. Which I just think is super fascinating. And that's one of the things that was like one of his characters was Jin, what's the actress's name? It's a Chinese name, and I'm always afraid I'm not pronouncing it correctly. But it was like, that was like one of his characters that he had a different idea for, that the studio just sort of noted into oblivion by the time they actually got into production.
Because Hollywood loves Asian characters. Big fans.
Unless only if they have only if their hair is dyed a fun color, if they have a stripe of a fun color in their hair, then they get to be the quirky Asian girl that the white protagonist gets to date. That's it.
They
That's
get to say 10 lines instead of 2 lines.
Yeah.
Right. And it is also worth noting, her name is Jing Tian, I think. Would Tian be 2 different syllables?
Maybe like Tian.
Tian, something like that.
Something. Yeah, I don't know. There's like different inflection that it could be, but that's
right. But she is Chinese. She's a Chinese actress who like worked in China for
same
decades. And like English is not her first language at all. So like I think that might also play a point in like the reason her role sort of got downplayed by the time they like finished the movie, just because you know, she's
which I think is
speaking her second language. I'm sure her performance isn't exceptional because she's trying to translate her lines.
Yeah, which is fine. Like that's a part of it, but it's also like a fraction of also just using like a bunch of Asian faces as set decoration,
right? Yeah.
And like an Asian conflict as a plot device.
Yeah, but like just in the background. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. All background. Which is like traditionally best case scenario, you're an Asian stereotype. Worst case scenario, you're set dressing or a racist caricature. But usually it's several of those things.
Oh, because I was thinking, I was like, I get it's because it's the studio and stuff, and like with the compromise you get, it's the compromise that you get. But like I feel like it's like if they're just gonna just do it so horribly and just downplay her into oblivion, then just kind of like I think it would be better if she wasn't in there, because then she does feel just more like decoration, like they're just trying to get your hopes up. It seems like they're just like fishing for you to be like, oh, there's an Asian woman here, and she literally doesn't do anything. Yeah, exactly. She just feels like she's there to be there so that they get woke points, you know?
Yeah. And it is also, I think, a lot about the idea of diversity, and it's like, I don't think, you know, like when you're holding movies up to different standards, like not every single movie needs to have a perfectly diverse cast, you know? And it's about like just sort of the ambient cultural temperature of diversity, you know? Like if there was a more equal distribution of roles, it would be like totally normal to have a movie that's all about white men if there's like a a thematic or ideological reason for it to be all about white men, you know?
Like Fight
Yes.
Club.
Yeah, sure. Fight Club's an example. But like, and it's sort of the thing I think about with this movie, because there aren't a lot of women in it. There's Brie Larson and the scientist, and it's, you know, you would be like, where are all the women? But it's like, you know, in the time period and like the setting
the
and the
Vietnam
thematics
War.
of it, it's like it makes sense for it to be a lot of men. But like,
Yeah.
are we at a point where we're totally just cool with just telling a bunch of stories that are all about men, even if they have a reason to be? You know, it's a weird thing I go back and forth on a lot.
Yeah, where it's like it makes sense that this story is all men, but like, why do we need to be telling this story
Right.
if it's all white men? Yeah, I totally get you.
Yeah,
But
which
it's
is
like, yeah.
like it's fine. It's fine to have like a story that is like I didn't have a problem with the amount of men in this story. It's just that all of the stuff that I've said before that
Yeah,
they
exactly.
are
It's
using
the-
this backdrop.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
different,
Instead of-
different issue.
Yeah, different
Different, yeah.
gripes, but
Yeah, because I don't want to treat. I don't think
Tricky.
diversity should be treated like a checklist. Like, oh, we need a
Yeah.
black guy and we need a woman, because that just feels like you're not getting the point of this. Pretty much, like it's including stories that when a woman and a black person are there, or any person that's not straight white and a man, like that, it makes sense that why they're there. It's not just. It's not. It's not Fight Club, but they're all gay women, because that wouldn't make any fucking sense. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just like creating stories and spaces where diversity happens naturally because you're telling a story that isn't all about one thing and one perspective.
That sounds like a fucking Babylon Bee article where it's just like, Warner Brothers announces Fight Club reboot with all transgender Muslim cast. And you're like, yeah,
That's
that's what
gonna make it
Hollywood's
me.
like.
oh no, oh no.
Are we? What
Yeah.
else do I have to say about Kong? Let me look. I love so much the way I already talked about it a little bit, but the way that at the last fight between Mega Dino and King Kong looks. That fight is just sick as hell. First of
Yeah.
all, like the choreography of King Kong using tools and shit is dope as hell.
Right.
But like the fact that it's just like in the middle of the day, the fact that it's so green and like natural and like in this big lake is so cool. And then you have like the green, and then you have the smoky red from the flare. It's all dope as hell. But I love how like mossy everything is in this movie, because
Right.
like it just makes them seem like so big that they've got like moss
Mhm.
growing on them. Like even
Just
King Kong, like
algae.
yeah, like King Kong gets pretty like grimy at the end of the movie because he's like bloody, but he's got like moss and like pond scum on him. Like he's just like so like nice and mossy. It's cool. I love
Right.
it.
The
I
Go ahead,
oh.
Keisha.
No, you go. I was gonna change subjects, so
Oh, okay.
kind
Was that
of.
a sneeze, Adeline?
What?
Was that a sneeze?
It sounded.
Yeah.
Okay.
It kind of sounded like Pikachu.
Yeah.
Like being loud.
Fuck, I totally lost track of what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
About the fight at the end. Oh, this movie plays kind of fast and loose with like time of day, in a way that I think is super
Yeah.
fun and cool.
48 hours.
Yeah, and they just like, but I just mean like there are a lot of like action sequences sort of that like transition but into like different phases where it's like, you know, Samuel L. Jackson lights King Kong on fire and it's like fully nighttime, and then they're like
the
doing
dead of night.
that whole thing, and there's like a few shots where it looks like, you know, orange sunrise when they transition to a different sort of part of the fight, which lasts, you know, a minute tops. And then at a certain point they just switch and they're like, it's morning now. It's like bright morning daytime now. In a way, you know, obviously you could be like, oh, the sun came all the way up over the course of a minute and 45 seconds. Like, obviously it doesn't like fully make sense, but it does like provide a certain sort of like dynamicness to like a long action sequence where you can have what feels like 3 different settings over the course of this thing, even though it's just one, that sort of like clues you into like the time frame that it's happening, while also sort of like, you know, literally coloring and just sort of metaphorically coloring different parts of the same sequence so it can break it up and make it not feel monotonous, you know? I think it's so cool. I love that about this movie.
Yeah. This movie's pacing is really, really, really good.
Yeah.
What I really appreciate about this movie is that they don't weirdly sexualize the relationship between the female protagonist and King Kong.
I was literally about to say that.
Like, because they have, like, obviously they connect with each other, but in a way that's like, I at first I thought you were my adversary, but now I respect you and see that you are a life form that's worthy of being on this planet.
You know what is the best shot in this entire movie is when Brie Larson is in Kong's closed fist and the monster like grabs his arm, and you know Brie Larson is inside of there. And you can see
inside
Kong,
goes all the way down his throat.
And you can see Kong like trying so hard to like get that fist away from the monster, but eventually there's this moment where you see on his face where he just says like, okay, fuck it, and then just like,
all right, I'll work with it.
Plunges Brie Larson deep inside this monster in his fist, and then grabs its guts and rips him out, and then opens his fist and puts Brie Larson down. There's so good.
So good about Kong's emotions in this. It like they do such a good job of like having him emote, because there are several times where you could just totally where he's just like, all right, fuck it. It's like, great, do it, Kong.
But like
please.
that scene
go off
where
John off, King.
Where John is like hiding from him and he's like, oh damn, I'm gonna get cruished. But he's like not poking the bear or anything, and then you just see Kong like cleaning his wound out, like he's a sentient conscious being, and then finds that squid and eats it.
Yeah, hell
it's like a little
sick. It's so good. But it's not in a weird, like, I think I want to have sex with that big old gorilla, because that is it's very traditional to King Kong movies in a really gross way.
Well, because it's weirdly like saying that like the objectification of women is like a natural thing, which is gross because it's something that's completely made up by society, but also puts this weird. It's just weird. Why does that big gorilla want to fuck that lady? That's not what happens.
Like, the way that they frame King Kong is just so much better than it has been in the past.
Yeah.
Where, like,
he feels like
he's this benevolent creature who's just, like, trying to maintain balance for, like, lesser creatures that can't take care of themselves versus these skull cruncher munchers.
And,
like, that's recognized by everyone else.
I like skull munchers.
This just makes me remember a story. I think it was Jane Foster or somebody the actress who plays the lady in Gorillas in the Mist, that movie, when they were talking about filming it, is that they were filming with like a specific pack or a specific troop of gorillas, and they were like, all right, lady, there are these two gorillas here, and one of them is super nice and super chill, and he'll just like let you sit next to him, and he just like won't bother you, and he'll just go about his business, and you'll be next to him and be fine. And they're like, and also there's this other gorilla that for some reason hates women just so much. And if he sees you, he will grab you by the hair and drag you down the mountain and leave you there and walk all the way back up. So they're like, as long as you're sitting next to the nice gorilla, the mean gorilla won't pull you down the mountain. And she was like, all right, cool. And so she sat next to that gorilla for the rest of the shoot. Generally, gorillas do not want. They're not like the weird sexual cause.
Right. You want to hear something? So as I was looking for reviews for this movie to read at the end, I got like a special insight into the way that sort of the average I don't mean to say non-critical thinking person as in like they're just dumb. I mean like they don't think critically about movies because that's not
just
the way
not,
they
like
to watch.
Actively thinking.
Yeah.
It's just not
like,
how they watch movies.
Looking at all these like 1-star reviews of people like on Amazon and stuff, it is so fascinating how much they all say like the exact same things. Like, and I know this is like creeping into like, oh, I'm so smart and normies are dumb territory, but like, I feel like every time you hear somebody who's not like passionate about film, like critique a movie, they always just say like, plot holes you could walk through and, you know, bad story, didn't make sense, like that kind of thing, you know? And it's just, it's so weird how vague and undescriptive that is. So in
Yeah,
a
I
certain kind of
fucking-
way, I was like trying to figure out like what exactly it was about this movie that general audiences didn't like fully latch onto. And like I got like no good information from it. They were all just like plot
So
holes.
fucking tired as a society of talking about plot holes. Like, I just
Right.
don't fucking care anymore if a story has plot holes,
Mhm.
plot holes in it. Like, just use fucking critical thinking skills and fill in the holes yourself, because that's probably what whoever made the movie was gonna try to make you do anyway.
Right.
I'm just like, oh, how did they get there so fast? It's like, who fucking cares, Dave? It's a
Like-
movie, you know? Like, it's like,
what do you
let
want?
it
Like
go, God.
like a little side screen of like a map of where they are on the
Yeah,
island and like
Right.
a
seriously.
countdown clock.
But then they'd be like, why is the movie holding my hand? It's like, because you're an idiot.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Because you would have complained if they didn't.
But the
God,
one
they're
thing
like,
that
opening narration. Why are they explaining everything? And then when they don't explain something, they're like, why? What's
I
with this
get
giant
it.
plot hole? It's like, shut the fuck up. Oh my God.
But the one thing that people seem to be not people who
Yeah,
hate
yeah.
this movie seem to be completely unable to get over is the bit right at the beginning where they're all flying around shooting at Kong when they see him for the first time, where they're like, why would they do that? And it's like, not only like, why would they just do that, but also, why would they just fly so close to King Kong that he could just punch him out of the air? To which I would say, King Kong's pretty nimble. Like, I don't think that's a
Round.
problem. But like, also that's like the point of the movie. Like, why would they do that? Like, yeah, why would they do that? It's a pretty bad idea,
Yeah.
if you ask me. Like, I don't know.
Because that's
Yeah,
the
this
point,
is
is
like
that they
a-
like fly kind of close to him, and then they like fly away, and then the big gorilla just chases after them because it's
Yeah.
a big gorilla with long
Mhm.
arms. Like, what do you mean?
And also like this is a visual representation of like America's Oedipus, not Oedipus. Whoa. I didn't mean to say Oedipus.
America's Oedipal complex.
Oh no.
Is that you?
America's hubris in approaching
Oedipus had
warlike
hubris.
scenarios. It's true, but not that kind of hubris. I don't know what happened inside of my brain. Can someone please explain it to
No,
me?
come on, it's not
But,
that
like-
crazy. Oedipus is all about hubris, about how he thought he could.
Yeah, but this is a different kind of hubris.
You know, like the fuck your mom kind of hubris.
This is
At least
I'm
I hope
talking more.
not, God.
Yeah, they're that's the fate, tempting fate hubris. I'm talking about manifest destiny hubris.
Right.
Yeah.
But like we can shoot anything that we want to make
Right.
it work for us, even
Yeah.
this big monkey.
Right. And there are a
We-
lot of movies like that that I love that just have like one big like sort of plot hole moment, quote unquote, where it's like, because especially, I think this is especially relevant, where it's like, what you're upset about is a matter of execution, right? Like,
Mhm.
why would they fly so close to King Kong? You're right. It doesn't really make sense that they would behave that way, but fixing that doesn't alter the fabric of the movie at all. What you're upset
Mhm.
about is
Better.
the way that they choreographed it would be slightly different, and it wouldn't have taken you out of that moment. But the rest of the movie is exactly the same. It's not a plot hole. It's just like a trifle of execution, you know?
Yeah.
Same thing
And
with
they also
like...
didn't even know they by the time that they were already close to King Kong, they hadn't seen him. He
Right.
had already grabbed them. They were trying to do recon on their fallen soldiers, which is a huge
Right.
thing, like part of this movie.
Yeah.
So shut your trap.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you
and
very
it's
much.
also, I think I've said this a bunch of times in the podcast before, but I always go back and forth on like, people don't make the smartest decisions they could possibly make 100% of the time in real life. We shouldn't expect
Mhm.
movies to always have people making...
Geniuses.
Yeah, exactly. But on the other hand, I do think that movies are more satisfying to watch when characters do make smart decisions. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But like Prometheus is a great example where it's like,
Oh yeah.
I-
why is she running straight forward?
yeah, like I love Prometheus. I think Prometheus is great. And like that moment where she's running away from the big thing that's falling, and it's like a narrow sort of object, and she's running forward, and it's like going to come down on her. It's like, okay, but she gets away from it. She doesn't get crushed by the spaceship. So it's like, yeah, sure. Fine. The way it was choreographed is weird and kind of awkward to watch because you're like, why wouldn't she just run to the side? Granted,
but it's also much more dynamic.
Yeah. And
it's a cooler shot.
Yeah, it's a cooler shot, and it's like 4 seconds of the movie, Like, just move on.
And like, as a person who at my job, I'm just a very clumsy person, but like when things like drop or like doing that little like shimmy shammy thing you do when like someone's walking on the same side of the sidewalk as you and you try to get out of each other's way at the same time.
Right.
It's like people don't impulsively make the smartest decisions, especially when it comes to like getting out of the way of something.
Right.
Like they're like, it's kind of like the fight or flight. Like you either like immediately like make a tactical decision, or your brain is just like, okay, time to run, because I've dropped things from the top shelf and been like, all right, time to run away now. Like, it's not
right. Yeah.
Like, that's just what the brain be like.
Yeah.
Like, you're speaking and critiquing as someone who has seen King Kong operate before in lots of versions of pop culture,
right.
and these are characters who have never encountered a big ol' ape the size of a mountain that can grab flying objects easily, okay?
I do think it's really cool when King Kong grabs the helicopter by like the blades and like cuts his hand up. That's cool. And then later he's got like the big cuts on his hands. That's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool. I like the big gorilla.
I love a gorilla.
I love a big gorilla.
The bigger the better.
The bigger the better, baby.
But not in a sexual way.
But not in a sexual way. Just like I just want to hug him.
I also, what I think about a lot, maybe, I don't know, maybe this isn't the best, but like, there's such a weird vitriol towards Brie Larson in the like sexist dude quarter of the internet.
Community.
Yeah. And I think about it a lot because like, her personality and her on-screen persona does come off very like holier than thou and condescending about the fact that she's a tough girl a lot of the time, which is true.
Boss, if you will.
Yeah, which is true, and something, and like she does so much like social media stuff now, and it's like, me personally, Jackson McMurray, I find Brie Larson as when she's in a candid setting, I find her to be annoying, right? And like, that's my right as a person to find her annoying,
Yeah.
Everybody in the world has the right to not want to listen to Brie Larson's podcast or whatever. But like,
but you don't send her death threats.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a certain amount of rage that I just can't quite
well, because Jackson, women can only exist if you like them and they give you pleasure.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. And if they don't do that, then why the fuck are they even here?
Exactly.
If women know why here?
And like, I mean, Captain Marvel is not a perfect execution. There are a lot of flaws that we could get into, but it's never, ever, ever will a movie performance deserve or quantify that amount of hate and random like spewed hatred for a single person. Like, it's just so, and I don't love Brie Larson's performance in this movie. I don't think it's spectacular. I think but it's not bad by any means at all.
No, I don't think so.
Like when she at one point she's like, I'm an anti-war photographer, and that made me roll my eyes a little bit, because like, we get it. We get it.
I do think it's stupid that she has a man's name, and that's like, they're like, oh, it's a girl.
They're like, you're
like,
a
I'm a
girl.
Like,
She's like, last time I checked. We get it. We got it.
It's like the perfect,
it's
like,
the 70s, but women exist, like,
yeah, exactly. Like, my reaction to Brie Larson in pretty much any movie ever is mostly just rolling my eyes. It's like,
but like, there are performances that Brie Larson has given. Like, she's so good in Just Mercy and Room. Like, those are really layered and interesting and complex performances, and those are completely different characters. And maybe she's not meant to be in the action world just based off of like her own, not because she's a woman and not because people hate her, but I just think that she's better in non-action roles personally.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, I guess I haven't seen Room, and I haven't seen. I guess I'm thinking
Just
of Glass
Mercy.
Castle, but nobody saw that.
Oh.
But yeah, I haven't seen Just Mercy either. But have you guys seen? I haven't seen the movie because it looks very irritating. But have you seen at least like the trailer for Unicorn Store?
I
have.
did.
It's the movie that she wrote and directed. That's literally just like, I'm so tired of adulting. I just want to have put sparkles on things, and I love unicorns so much. And it's like, oh my god, I hate this. Like, it's just like so much like Brie Larson being like, paperwork, taxes, I can't even. And you're like, fucking goddamn it.
Like, okay.
Weird one. Because on one hand, especially in societies like Japan and China, like that's very much a thing where it's like you are an adult, you are no longer allowed to like children's things. So like recently there's been a lot of like subcultures of like adults and older people like enjoying cutesy stuff like Hello Kitty and like a lot of fashion things of like being able to like enjoy children's things and not all being about like capitalistic gain and stuff like that. So it's like a rebellion. And like even like in America, it's like kind of that like animated movies are for kids. Like it like you should just be working and you should be a mom. You should whatever. Like it's definitely a conversation to be had. But then there's like I don't know. There's like the annoying like millennial perspective of like I can't believe I'm adulting today. You know, it's just it's like I on one hand I agree with you, and on the other hand you're annoying.
Yeah, it's just like like it just seems sometimes like it's coming off in a mocking sort of way. Like a lot of times whenever it's like the same way that like teenage lines are written a lot of times that just are so off-putting and so ingenuine that it like those are feelings, authentic feelings that are allowed to be expressed.
Right.
But why does it have to be in such a poor way?
Yeah.
Just like, I made spaghetti today? Adulting, hashtag, who would have thought? I made it, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, drink wine, haha.
Cool.
It's like, wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah. It's like, the rest of us have been... The rest of us have figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
anyway, that's why I haven't watched Unicorn Story
yet. The rest of us have been having fun as adults. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, are we good? Kong, Skull Island,
yeah, we talked for
thoughts?
quite a bit.
I realized that
we talked about how much we liked the rest of the movie.
Right.
Yeah, we love kaiju.
When you got to that
in Canadian, that's pronounced Caillou, just in case anyone.
God damn it.
Oh, that's why that motherfucker is like that.
He's got the spirit of a kaiju inside of him.
Kaiju. Caillou is canonically a kaiju.
All right, fine. I'll begrudgingly accept.
You guys want to talk about how Caillou and how fucked up he is? God.
No. Okay, I have one closing thought on Kong Skull Island, which is that I didn't realize how permanently ingrained that post-credit scene is in my psyche forever until it came on, because I had to watch it dozens and dozens of times over when I was working at the movie theater. So that moment where like it goes dark and Tom Hiddleston's just like, so you're just gonna sit there in the dark? You're enjoying this, aren't you? I was like, fuck, I know this word for word, and I didn't even realize it.
Do you think that they'll old man Tom Hiddleston in the movie?
Ooh, that could be fun. I hope they do.
That would be fun.
Because let me tell you, I like 100% of the cast of Kong Skull Island 1,000 times better than I like the cast of Godzilla King of the Monsters.
That's really fair.
I don't know
why. I agree.
I don't like Kyle Chandler.
I don't like Millie Bobby Brown.
Like
you don't like Millie Bobby Brown?
I don't like her as a person. I like her as 11 exclusively.
That's fair.
For some reason, like, Kyle Chandler's been in a lot of movies I like, but for some reason, like, it always feels like they're good in spite of Kyle Chandler. I don't know. For some reason, whenever he shows up, I'm just like...
They were able to rise above.
Yeah.
God, oh my God. That's so rude.
Right. And it's like, Kyle Chandler's in Game Night, and he's awesome in Game Night. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time. But for some reason, whenever I realize Kyle Chandler's in the movie, I'm just like, oh, fuck. I wish he weren't. I don't know why. I just don't like him. I don't like the cut of his jib.
That's okay. You're allowed.
Do you have a review, Jackson?
No, I think Kezia has some plugs though.
I do have some plugs. Here we go. Hello. Thank you for listening to our podcast, our review. It was a little long, but it was worth it because we have a lot of feelings on Kong Skull Island.
True.
If you liked it, leave a like. Comment what you thought of Kong Skull Island, or tell us what movies you'd like us to talk about, because we want to talk about the things that you guys care about. We have like somewhat limited understanding of movies that are popular. So what do you want to hear? Also, don't listen to my dog who's scratching at the door. You can follow us on Twitter at NoNerdsPod. You can follow Jackson at Jepperpack, and you can follow Adeline at Hollaback Horse, and you can follow me, Kezia Rhodes, at Beyonce. And you can listen to any other podcast. There are lots and lots of podcasts. The Cars one, I highly recommend. I think it's so funny. You can listen to them on any podcasting dreamable place. What are those called?
What?
You know.
Excuse me?
You can listen to them on Spotify. You can listen to them on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to them on YouTube. You can do lots of those things. Watch some of our other videos. That's it. When we get to 10,000 subscribers, Jackson said he'll let me shave his head. So we'll do that.
Okay, sure. I mean, yeah, I could do that if people want that. I don't know.
I just made that up. We've never talked about that before.
And TikTok too. We have a TikTok.
TikTok.
I'm still getting a handle on it, but it's coming. There are exciting things in the future for our TikTok. That's at NoNerdsPod also. And yeah, thanks again. I say this every time, but I love pointing out people in the chat. Whoa, we just had like 3 people pop up right at the end that we hadn't seen before. Gerald Desi, Nick's Teen, Wise, Whistler Stud. Love this. Favorite part of the show.
I know. Favorite part is Jackson trying to pronounce people's usernames like somebody's mom who you're trying to talk about a YouTuber.
And Dylan S. right at the beginning.
He add Kawar to
but yeah, like I said, we're growing a lot, mostly because of the Dark Side of the Rainbow video that I put up like a year ago now. That's about to hit 100,000 views, by the way, which is absolutely insane.
We should throw you a party.
Yeah, maybe. But and Dylan S is still around. He was here the whole time, just silently.
Thank you, Dylan.
I thought for sure that we had scared him off in the first few minutes of the stream.
Because I kept saying his name.
Yeah.
He never did answer if he was Dylan Sprouse, so I'm just going to assume he is.
He is.
I loved you in After Two.
Dylan Sprouse just at home typing, "Good job, that was good," on somebody's podcast stream.
Oh God, that's absolutely what I would do if I was famous. Are you kidding me?
But yeah, and just to answer your question, Gerald, we keep an eye on the chat whenever we're recording, but we only really weigh in if there's something that we want to actively discuss. We don't do shout outs or just chatting with the chat particularly often, but we do at the beginning and at the end. So
about Kong Skull Island, and you guys are talking about Lord of the Rings. I'm not gonna stop the podcast to talk about Lord of the Rings. I'm just not.
Yeah, heaven forbid we stop the podcast to talk about a different movie. That never happens.
That never happens. No. Never ever.
That's crazy talk.
It's on my terms.
So, all right. Do you guys want to hear a 1-star review of Kong Skull Island?
Yes, please.
Is it about the big good boy, Mr. Kong?
It is. So this review comes from Amazon.com, and this user says, this user says, "I got so mad at this movie because why is it that..." Oh, sorry, I messed it up. Give me 1 second. Let me read it again.
That's okay.
You
can take another 16 bars.
I'll take another shot at it. So, do you guys want to hear a 1-star review of Kong Skull Island? Yeah. Okay, great. So this review comes from Amazon.com, and this user says, "I got so mad at this movie because why is it that people go over to someone's home and want to destroy their home and get mad when the victim tries to defend their territory? I was so glad that Samuel Jackson was killed. I was crying over what King Kong was going through. And I know that it's just a movie, but seriously, people do act like that."
Oh my God. Oh my god.
This person
That's
must have
basi-
a really hard time with just movies in general.
I feel
I
like this
know
person
is
should
a
just.
movie, but I was so sad when that deer's mom got shot. It does happen in real life. It's a bad.
My
Anybody?
recommendation to this person is watch Home Alone. I think that you'll love it.
You will love it, yeah. Yeah, the
that's
Kong
exactly
Skull
what
Island
happens.
is real victim blamey, I gotta say.
Anyway, my name is Jackson McMurray.
Adeline McMurray.
My name is Kezia Rhodes.
And this has been No Nerds Allowed. Thank you and good night.
It's the explosion.
People are saying we should do Good Burger. Maybe we should do that. That seems like a very Kezia movie.
It is. Also, SpongeBob SquarePants the movie.
That would be a good one.
The SpongeBob
Love.
SquarePants movie is genuinely so good. Like the original one, the animated one, not the
Yeah.
weird 3D animated one that came out recently, but like the
Yeah.
original one.
Only the one from my childhood.
One from
Those
my
are the only good ones.
That's the only good one.
Not to vague post about people. I am in negotiations with the two guys from the First Play podcast to be a guest soon, which is very exciting because I actually do like that podcast a lot. But we were talking about what movie they wanted to do, and they were like, "What about an Adam Sandler movie?" I was like, "Oh, it'd be so fun to do Pixels. Like that feels like something that's right up our alley." And they're like, "Yeah, that could be fun." And they were like, "What about Like Mike? We were talking about Like Mike the other day." I was like, "We would love to do Like Mike. That sounds great." And the last time I talked to them, they were like, "We're thinking Norbit. We think we are decided on Norbit." And I'm trying to decide whether I want to just be okay with it and go full steam ahead, or if I want to veto that and be like, what about Pixels?
What have you considered Pixels?
I don't know if I want to go down the Norbit trail
What is
personally.
Norbit? I've literally never heard of that.
It's the Eddie Murphy fat suit
It's-
clumps.
Yeah, it's just more
movie.
Eddie Murphy in a fat suit.
Yeah.
Whoop,
Oh, I
whoop.
don't want that.
Okay, I'll tell
Also,
him it's
Gerald-
vetoed.
Gerald D, sorry to hear about your school shutting down again. That's
That
a
happened.
thumbs down emoji.
Oh, but by the way,
Really?
the way that our schedule is shaking out, they want to come on not next week, but the week after, which is when we were going to do Shape of Water. But now I think we're going to have to do Shape of Water next week instead for our Valentine's Day special. And
That's
then
really good.
do that,
That's such.
that
I think
next
that's
week.
Sheffy's kiss.
French kiss.
French kiss.
French kiss.
But
French kiss.
so I think our schedule for right now is next week Shape of Water, whatever the First Play guys want to do week after that, and then something with what was it? What was the next? Oh, whatever we want to do with Maddie.
She really wants to talk about La La Land.
See,
Hey chat, do you guys want to hear us talk about La La Land?
Okay, real talk though, I feel like she's bringing a very hostile energy to that podcast that I don't think would make for a good listening experience. Like, really and truly, I might need to veto La La Land.
All right, I'll
Not-
talk to her about
I want to
it.
veto La La Land, not in general, not that I never want to do La La Land on this podcast. The thought of doing La La Land with Maddie, with her bringing that hot of energy to it,
Listen,
makes me
here's the thing is,
uncomfortable.
I have similar energy to Maddie about La La Land. So
Okay.
I think you might just have people with bad energy.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound fun to me. It doesn't sound like a fun podcast to be a
Oh,
part
crap.
of.
I forgot to stop recording.
Trauma.
But yeah, and then maybe the last week of February we'll pull out. Maybe we'll do Force Awakens if we can get a guest. Otherwise, maybe we can do.
I could ask my friend Katie because she's big Star Wars. I don't know if she would have like a good mic setup or anything. I'll see
Right.
if she
That might be fun.
wants to do that. But yeah, 'cause she's
Um,
big Star Wars.
Because that's our. Oh no! Fuck! We're not doing Force Awakens. We're doing an Ewok Adventure Caravan of Courage.
That's right.
Thought we were doing
We should try to
that.
get Tabby for that. That feels like a Tabby episode.
Yeah, maybe we should get Tabby for Ewok Adventure. Okay.
I didn't know we said yes.
we decided on that earlier. Hold on.
I thought that was a joke.
This is real life.
I'm gonna
I'm
make sure
excited to talk
it's
about it.
like easily findable.
We could get Dad on for Happy Gilmore. Feels like a dad movie.
I do think it would be fun. We gotta plan. Okay, here are 2 things I want to do someday.
Yes.
I want to have Anna and Elliot on at the same time for something.
Yes.
I want to bring our mom on for Lady Bird.
Yes.
And
Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk, not Lady Bird. Lady Bird would
Oh,
probably
Maddie
not
would
be
like
as
to
fun.
talk about Lady Bird, though.
That could be fun. We could do Lady Bird.
Maddie
with
loves Lady Bird.
I make that joke about Lady Birding out of a car like once a week, so I think it's so funny.
And there was one other like family thing I wanted to do. Maybe I
Do
was
you want to
thinking
get
of
Dad on for Ferris Bueller?
maybe I don't know. I don't think Dad would be quite as fun to have on for a movie like that. I'm trying to think what kind of movie would be a good fit for Dad.
What's a movie that your dad likes?
My dad?
Yeah.
Forrest Gump.
Robert
his favorite
Zemeckis
movie.
movies, yeah.
He loves Robert Zemeckis. He loves Forrest Gump, though, is his fave.
We gotta start, because it feels like we're always sort of flying by the seat of our pants. We gotta come up with like a list of movies that we want to do, so that when we have
It's
like
true.
a week where we're like, oh, I don't know, what can we do this week? We like have a list and we could pick something out, you know?
We could just make a Google Doc with movie titles
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
We can, like, old-fashioned queue, like how Netflix used to be. Like, what they'd send you in the mail next.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
That's my grandpa still does that. Like, still sends Netflix DVDs in the mail.
I think our parents are still subscribed to that. We've had like Captain Marvel
Well,
or
because there are
something at our
still
house
some
forever.
like movies and TV shows that aren't on streaming but are on DVD.
Right.
That's
It's true.
But it's
But you
very
can also
few.
just go to Redbox or like rent it literally any other way.
Yeah.
But my grandpa doesn't know how. He's 94, so he doesn't know how to do
Right.
People
something like
figured
that.
out how to get stuff from Netflix. Don't.
Yeah, he's like, listen,
What's
I
that?
learned this 12 years ago. I'm not gonna relearn. I'm gonna
Yeah,
do
exactly.
an easier system. But I love that man.
Love him, Grandpa.
Love my grandpa. It's just his birthday on Tuesday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Would you want to bring
could've
any
fought
of
in
your
the world.
family on to the podcast, Keisha, besides Maddie?
Maybe. I'm trying to think about it. I feel like it would be funny to also have my mom on for Lady Hawk.
Maybe just a mom
Like
special.
Mother's Day episode.
Yeah, I think that might be fun. Well,
Really
because
good.
having our mom on for Lady Hawk is going to be like a monumental event, right? Because
Mhm.
Keisha, you and our mom have a special relationship with Lady Hawk together. That I
Yeah,
think would
but
make
that's
that
only
very
because
fun.
of my mom. Yeah, I know
Right,
about
yeah,
Lady
maybe.
Hawk. I want to talk about Lady Hawk so bad. It's one of my favorite, like not my actual favorite movies, but one of my like favorite just off the wall. Why does this exist? Movies. It's so good. Either that or Enemy Mine, which I don't know if I don't think anyone knows about it.
Really never heard of that. Yeah.
It's great. It's great. It's terrible. But it's what's his name? He's like he's the dad in the Parent Trap.
Which
I
one?
can't think of his name right now. The Lindsay Lohan one. of
Okay.
course.
Why are you so mad?
Because I can't remember his name. Is bothering my brain.
I haven't seen
Can I
it.
just say
Well, I-
something about the Parent
Oh,
Trap?
Dennis
I
Quaid.
said it-
Oh, okay. He's playing
I've said
Ronald
it
Reagan.
Dennis
before,
Quaid.
but there's something so weird about movies where they're like, we've got to get these two divorced people back together. Because, like, have you ever met a divorced couple? Like,
My parents. Yes.
fair, yeah. But it's just like, usually, I don't know, I'm painting with a very broad brush, but it's like, for the most part, when people get divorced, it's usually a good thing. Like, people don't get divorced over nothing, you know? It's not
Yeah.
just like, let's just get divorced and then we still love each other, actually. You know, I don't think that happens all that much.
Have I told you guys about The Lie on Amazon Prime?
No.
That's the one with like Gypsy Rose or something. like that.
No.
What's her name?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that actress is in it. I don't know. But I didn't recognize any of the actors. So the plot of this movie, I swear to God, if this had come out in theaters like it was supposed to, this would be like the next, like, Serenity. It would be the new, like, famous movie that everybody sees to go dunk on.
Yeah.
But nobody's heard of it because it came out anonymously as a part of 4 other horror movies on Amazon Prime in October. It's... So the plot of the movie...
That's the one with with... Now I can't remember her
Right.
name either.
So
Sarah Paulson.
No, that's Run.
No?
That's
Oh.
Run on Hulu.
Okay, my bad. My bad. This one where I was thinking of The Act also.
Oh, okay.
So
Also
the
different.
lie,
Sarah
go
Paulson's
on.
not in it. So the plot is this. So this dad is driving on a snowy road. He's taking his daughter and her friend to like a field trip or whatever. Their car breaks down. He pulls over to the side of the road. The girl just murders her friend, just pushes her off a bridge, and she dies for no apparent reason. So the dad's like, "What the fuck? Why'd you do that?" And throughout the course of the movie, it's this family sort of, normally in a movie like this, a family is like being torn apart trying to keep a secret. But in this movie, it's like The Parent Trap, in that the dad and the mom, who are divorced, fall back in love while trying to cover up this murder that their daughter did.
Whoops.
It's absolutely buck wild. That's so
actually,
crazy.
I think that's actually, I take back what I said about trying to get divorced people back together. That's the best plot I've ever heard.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's not silly. This movie is the most
Doesn't
deadly
sound
serious.
silly.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely insane.
I feel like maybe this is gonna be a purebred. What's the horse movie?
Oh, Thoroughbreds.
Thoroughbreds. I was trying to say purebreds, and that's not a thing. Thoroughbreds, where you say horse girl murders her stepdad, and that's just a funny enough collection of words that I think it's gonna be silly. It's very serious.
Right.
That's what I think it'll be like.
Yeah, and there's a big twist at the end of it that I won't give away because I want you guys to watch it. But it is, I swear to God, it deserves a seat among the best of like famously bad movies that are fun to dunk on.
I love that. That's my kind of movie, man.
Gerald just brought up Knives Out, and
we could do
not
Knives
only
Out.
is that just a really good film, and that would be a
Knives
fun one to talk about.
We
should talk about Knives Out right after we talk about the Rise of Skywalker. Not Rise of Skywalker.
Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do like a little Rian Johnson miniseries.
Yeah.
We could pull out
Well,
Looper.
it's just because this is for me and only for me, but just Chris Evans in that sweater, that white sweater that he wears.
Yeah, you're the only person who loves Chris Evans in the cable list.
Because he just looks like Jack from BioShock, and it just makes me excited.
Okay.
That's literally the only reason why I'm like, hell yeah, cable knit sweater.
It was like a meme, that cable knit sweater.
Yeah, because then I just imagine Chris Evans as Jack in a BioShock movie, and I'm like, that would slap so hard.
I'm
I
waiting
love Chris Evans.
every
He's so
day
good.
for details on the Knives Out sequel.
I know.
I wake up in the morning thinking about the Knives Out sequel. When's it gonna come out? What's it gonna be about? Who's gonna be in it?
My dream of dreams is that it's not gonna be like, here's the same characters, but then something wacky happens. I want it to be like one of those sequels where it's just like another scenario that's kind of similar, but with like a totally different cast and totally different people, you know? Like, that's what I want.
Rian Johnson's pretty much said
Langhorn.
it's Daniel Craig and Ana de Armas, like, as like Holmes and Watson, just like going to a different place in a new scenario, like solving a different mystery.
Yeah. That's what I want.
I love like just serial detectives in any form.
Yeah.
Even I don't care if it's tropic and you can predict what's gonna happen. It's all the same episode. It's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And like,
I love it.
I get so much joy, like, trying to sort of like guess like what actors are gonna be in the huge ensemble for Knives Out 2.
Yeah,
to
and
me,
just the stacked ensemble.
There is at least in my brain, there is a 100% chance that Timothée Chalamet will be in it.
Timmy T.
Yes.
Do you think they could get Chalamet and also Holland? Do you think they could do that? I think that would be amazing.
Whoa.
Because they do gotta get at least somebody who can like really put butts in seats in the way that Chris Evans did in the first one,
Yeah,
there's gotta be
Tom Holland and
at
Timothée
least
Chalamet,
one
and they
person.
play twin brothers and they ride horses.
They had lots of different butts too, like they had Michael Shannon. I would be there for
What?
I don't think he was a butt person.
Michael Shannon's butt?
Yeah, no, I'm saying is such an ensemble cast. Like
To
people
get
weren't just there
people's
because
butts
of
in
Chris
seats.
Evans.
Chris Evans was a butt
Oh,
man.
right.
Yeah, like Jamie Lee Curtis. Like they had so many different people.
Yeah.
That's like there's a big variety. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's so good. Don Johnson was in it. When
Oh
was the last
god, I
time
just
Don
clicked
Johnson
on a
was in
Philo
something?
ad. Oh god. Everything's fine.
Yeah. Oh, my dog's freaking out. It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it's
I
because he
think
wants
about
to
that
let
moment.
him in.
I think about that moment where
did let
Don
him in.
Johnson, that moment where Don Johnson and Marta interact for the first time, and Don Johnson's just like fully looking at his phone and like walks up to Marta. It's just like, "Hey, what's up?" Like something about that just feels so perfect and wonderful to me.
Yeah,
Good movie.
I love it. So good. Is Lakeith
Lakeith Stanfield. I was thinking
Stanfield? I was
about-
gonna say Stanton. He should be in it again too.
Like, can you imagine? Like, Lakeith Stanfield was in Get Out, Knives Out, and Uncut Gems within like 2 years of each other. Like, any one of those movies would make a person's career forever. You know, like he is just absolutely struck gold in the last few years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he earned that gold by using ankle weights.
I want to, call back.
And he was
I
also
want to
in
do an
Death
episode
Note.
about Uncut Gems where we just cut out me and Keisha's audio and it's just Jackson, because that's what that it's gonna be.
Because Uncut Gems is the best movie ever.
Jackson could just go off about Uncut Gems.
It's now a Christmas Eve tradition for me. Every Christmas Eve since it's come out, I've watched Uncut Gems.
I don't know. Is Uncut Gems a Christmas movie though?
No.
Or is it just a movie you watch at Christmas?
I mean, it came out at Christmas. That's why I watched it the first time. I watched it on Christmas Eve. I abandoned my family and went to a movie theater and watched Uncut Gems on Christmas Eve.
Was that 2019 Christmas?
That was 2019 Christmas.
Want to know what I did at that exact same time?
What'd you do?
I went with my entire family to go see Cats in theaters.
Fuck yeah.
Oh man. I still haven't seen Cats. I don't. What's the best way for us to deliver me watching Cats for the first time?
Maybe we could do. We've been playing with the idea of doing commentary tracks for Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. Maybe we could do Cats too. We could put that on the list. I mean, look.
I don't know if I can watch Cats again though.
Maybe at some point down the road. Not to just totally rip off the format from Blank Check. But what Blank Check does is they do, episodes like this where it's just about a movie on their main feed, and then on Patreon they do like commentary tracks for different movies. So maybe we could do that if we ever get to a point where we want to set up a Patreon. That might be fun. I don't know. I don't think I'm in a position to produce extra content right now. But
oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe someday soon.
Also, Patreon has been screwing over their entire fan base in a major way recently, so maybe wait a little bit too.
Oh shoot! Yeah, I'll just start a GoFundMe. And if you donate to the GoFundMe, we'll email you a video of us reacting to Cats.
Yeah,
that's so good. We'll mail you a VHS tape of our podcast.
I was watching Cats Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Do you think we could do that? Do you think we could make a VHS tape and actually
I mean, we could
send it to people?
Would they be able to play in the VHS tape?
I mean, doing more than one of those would be the problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We couldn't be all our Patreon supporters get a VHS tape of season 1.
I don't know, maybe.
That's what I want more YouTube people to do VHS tapes, because that's what my dream of dreams, what I really wanted. Because on the last day of Unis Honest, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do something." It was just reopening the rest of their store, which was cool because I bought stuff. But God, I wanted an Unis Honest VHS tape collection so bad. Can you imagine? That'd be so cool.
Okay,
and somebody
well,
on TikTok put a bunch of vines on a VHS tape, and that was cool.
Apparently, Gerald and Ian would both pay for Patreon. Maybe that could be lucrative for us.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Oh, dang.
But the thing is, I was like,
dang.
It adds up. They have, we get 4 or 5 subscribers. It's $50 a month. That's not nothing. But then I remembered it would be $50 split 3 ways. Which is substantial.
You want $12?
We'll invest that money into the stock market.
Yeah,
GameStop.
maybe.
Yeah, we'll put it in GameStop. Except we can't because the government's trying to silence us.
Yeah, it's true. Oh well.
Yeah.
Canadian
Robin
games.
Hood, more like Sheriff whatever, the Sheriff and Robin Hood.
The Sheriff of Nottingham.
The Sheriff Name.
So maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can think about doing a Patreon. I guess I
We think
didn't.
about it.
I didn't think
Yeah,
there would
I
be
mean-
much interest in it, but apparently there's at least some interest. I don't know. Maybe it'd be worth it.
There's a little trickle of interest.
Yeah, maybe on our Patreon there'll just be more rants of Adeline and I talking about like Disney movies or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I've been really thinking. I like kind of like softly started writing. I want to do a video going through the BioShock Infinite art book because I got a lot of opinions about BioShock Infinite, and I think going through the art book is a good way to like organize them, kind of, because I can like use the art book as like directing what I'm going to talk about. But I really want to just like go through and talk about all the Disney princess movies, which I don't know if I want that to be a video or we could do episodes or what.
I would love that. I love it.
Yeah, fuck you, Jackson. We're gonna do the Disney princess movies
Okay,
eventually.
Sure. But yeah, and another thing people do with my video stuff, a classic Patreon tactic is to like put it up on Patreon a week early. And then put it out for the general
That's
public.
true.
So
But that doesn't feel
something.
special. That
But
just
it's
feels
also-
like
That's never
We
been my
lose
favorite.
then we lose our talk, our chats with the chat.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't talking about the podcast. I was talking about
Different vids.
yeah, of like videos that I
Exclusive
make.
content-y.
Because yeah, I've got a few like video ideas that I'm pretty excited about producing once I'm done with Full Stream Ahead.
Yeah. But also, if you haven't watched Full Stream Ahead, you should watch it.
do it.
because
They're very good.
It's really like there's good, short, quick reviews of the movies on streaming content, and it's fun. Jackson's funny.
This month is
So if you haven't watched it, go watch them.
Thank you guys. This month is thank you guys for promoting your own channel. I really appreciate it.
But we're not in
your
it, so
video.
it's
Yeah, I know.
selfless.
I'm just messing with you. But yeah, the next episode of Full Stream Ahead is the last one, and that's coming together slowly. I've had a lot of personal stuff come up in the last few weeks, but it's coming together,
I'm
and
taking a break from YouTube.
and and it sucks because I really wanted to like be as on the ball as possible with this stuff since we've been getting so many subscribers, but I don't know. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping I can have it done like February 1st or 2nd is maybe reasonable. It might be a little bit longer than that, but it's somewhere around that time frame. It's gonna come out.
Are you gonna continue your going through Marvel movie series?
No, I don't think so. The further removed I get from it, the more I realize I don't know if I have that much that's interesting to say in that format anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
It's also different. Like the earlier movies. Were not as like widely beloved.
and it was
Where
like,
it's like, what more can you say about Spider-Man: Homecoming?
right.
Yeah.
And it's like, at first, like, the idea of it was like, I wanted to track the narrative of like superhero movies as a whole, like how they changed over the course of, the decades. And like, that is still interesting to me, but I just, at some point, like halfway through writing the Daredevil video, I realized like, I'm not going to have an interesting take on every single one of these movies, A, and B, I don't need to have an interesting take on each one of these movies in order to get the point across about how superhero movies have changed,
Yeah.
Like, there's a much, much more concise and interesting way to do this if I wanted to revisit
That can just
it.
be one video instead of
Exactly.
a series.
Yeah. So there was a brief moment where I was like, what if I picked and chose? What if I was like, I'm going to talk about Daredevil, I'm going to talk about Hulk, I'm going to talk about Iron Man, just like pick the important ones. And then I was like, what if I just made a video about how superhero movies have changed? And it could just be one video where I say, hey, here's how they've changed. And I was like, yeah, maybe that's the best way to do that. Fuck.
It's a learning curve.
But I don't know. At the same time, though, I did have somebody in the comments on one of those recently be like, I'm waiting on the Daredevil one. Is it coming? And I was like, oh, I don't know. If people want it, maybe I'll do it. Like, I don't know.
You could get hot takes on. I think a Daredevil one would be good, just because that movie's ridiculous.
Right.
But like, Daredevil and like Howard the Duck and like Blade are like the perfect movies for that kind of video, because they're like these like kind of like the ones that we've kind of like slept on.
Right.
Especially as Marvel has gone huge.
Yeah, it was
these ones
like
have like stayed in
before-
or whatever.
Before like the Spider-Man hot streak Not that,
Right.
right directly after the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, everyone cared about superhero movies all of a sudden, but
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Like I think you
it
could
was
do
a
the Hulk
catalyst.
movie. I think
I
that'd be
would love
another
it.
good one.
Which Hulk movie?
The one that we saw in theaters when no
Yeah,
one was there.
Incredible Hulk. That movie.
We weren't alone in that movie theater. There were 3 teenagers right
Yeah.
in front of us in that movie.
That movie, like the Ang Lee Hulk, I think is weird and interesting and good in its own way. Like I know people hate it, and I don't like love it, but I'm like, there's something to this that I like on some level, you know.
But he's doing something.
Like
yeah.
ideologically, it's weird, and stylistically, it's creative, and I'm like, this is something for sure. But the Louis Leterrier Incredible Hulk Edward Norton movie is like truly one of the worst movies ever. I feel like,
Yeah.
like that movie
Love it.
has nothing going for it almost at all. Like it's just
Like-
so horrible.
What my earliest exposure, I think, to Marvel was I was on vacation with my entire dad's side of the family, and my cousin was watching the Incredible Hulk animated series, and I was like, "What is this? I love it!" And I'm so sad. Like I love Hulk. I wish that
Right.
cinematically he was treated better.
You want to know a massive bone I have to pick with the Marvel Universe right now?
Yeah.
Boner.
So they brought back William Hurt as Thunderbolt Ross from Incredible Hulk. They recently announced that Liv Tyler is going to come back as Betty Ross in She-Hulk. And they announced that Tim Roth is going to come back as Abomination in She-Hulk. And literally the only character basically from that movie that's not going to come back is Tim Blake Nelson as the leader. The only one that I actually want to come back. Where is he?
Who,
All
Jackson?
in
Who
due
would you
time.
cast as Red Hulk?
Well, Thunderbolt Ross is a character already. That's who Red Hulk is William Hurt. I mean, I could just cast somebody else if that's what you want to know, but he has already been
Can you
cast.
just yes and me,
Okay.
Jackson?
It just, well, I don't know. It's like if I were just like, Adeline, who would you cast as Captain America? Like,
Yeah, and I would cast fucking Brie Larson, Jackson.
oh wow, very woke take.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
I bet that would
She's
be
a hashtag
super.
girl boss.
That would be super cool and fun to watch. I bet.
Yeah,
Um,
Can I have my woke points, please?
I was
Blot
gonna
'em
say,
up.
I was just thinking about like the people who I would want to play that character have already played that character. Like besides William
I
Hurt,
just
I
think
would be
J.K.
like,
Simmons is Red
oh,
Hulk
I was
would be
gonna
really
say
fun.
Sam Elliott because Sam Elliott played that guy in the Ang Lee Hulk movie. I was like,
Yeah,
that would
yeah.
fucking kick ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam Elliott's so good.
True that.
I love that guy.
Remember in
Hot take: Sam Elliott's a good actor.
remember in A Star Is Born? He's good in that.
When he's
I
crying,
had not seen
backing
that
up.
movie.
I
Lady
watched it on
Gaga is in
Thanksgiving
that
and it
movie?
Oh yeah, it's so depressing.
Do you ever think
I
about
can't-
how short Lady Gaga is and just be weirded
She's
out?
like
She's
5'2".
very short. Yeah.
I feel like Star Is
I'm
Born. could be a
5'4".
good-
It's not super short.
Star Is Born
It's
could be a good
microscopic,
podcast episode,
Keisha.
I think. I feel like I have enough
All
thoughts
of the
on it.
Stars Borns.
I don't know
all
if I
4
would
of
do
them?
that. I feel like I really like Star Is Born up until the last like 20 minutes. Like I don't like the ending of Star Is Born.
That's fair, but that's how it ends. So
It's true. It is
Is
how
it
it ends.
like the opposite of La La Land? I have not seen A Star Is Born.
No.
Do you want
it's
us to
not.
spoil it for you?
Sure, I don't care about Lady Gaga.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's like the
But the
the
movie's
story.
good
Of,
outside of Lady Gaga.
I know, yeah.
Okay.
like,
Okay.
but like the story of A Star Is Born is that like Bradley Cooper kills himself at the end. Like it's
Yeah.
about like
Or just that he dies.
right.
like, he'll,
Well,
like,
yeah. In
die
the Lady
at the end.
Gaga one, he kills himself. And it's
And
like
like the Judy Garland one, I think like dies in a car crash or something
Right.
stupid like that.
and it's like you know.
So dumb.
And that's like the arc of the story, right? Like Jackson Maine is a big star, and then Lady Gaga sort of like eclipses him, and he slowly starts to spiral out of control because he's like addicted to fame and doesn't know how to operate without success in the way that he's defined it previously. And he spirals out, and it's like a really cool, interesting story. I really like stories about couples that have like healthy relationships with each other, like all that kind of stuff. I'm like, hell yeah, this is so great. But then the end of the movie, like, he kills himself, he hangs himself in the garage, and Lady Gaga finds him, and it's so sad and it's so scary. And then you hard cut to Lady Gaga at an award show singing a song she wrote about how she'll never love again, and she's so sad, and then the credits roll. Like,
Yeah, that seems so performative. That feels like getting that addiction to fame again.
yeah, and, like, I think... Like,
why she sings it, though.
I'm not against the idea of him dying at the end. What I would want to do is I would want to, like, see how Lady Gaga continues to live in the years to come. How does she move forward? How does she cope with that? How does she, like, respect his memory? Such and such and such. I want to see how she sort of recovers and gets back up from that experience. But this movie is literally just like, and he's dead. He's dead. It's so sad. Fuck you. He's
We
dead.
did it.
Here are the credits.
Cut.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, I guess. Like, fine. I don't know.
Fine.
Yeah, but you do see the way that she responds to his decline, though, and
That's
that
true.
she's, like, very supportive and loving.
Right.
So it's, like, and the way that he dies it's, like, a response to, like, external forces that are saying that he is the reason that she will fail.
Right.
And, like, that's not coming from her, it's just coming from other people.
Right.
And, like, his own inner turmoil. So I feel like his journey is tragic, but I would like to see how she responds, but I don't think her fame is necessarily, like, the same, will go on the same downward trajectory spiral that his will, because a lot of
Right.
it is coming from, like, health issues and
Right.
other stuff like that too.
No, I didn't necessarily
know.
mean that, and then she fucking fails, and then she wants to kill
Yeah.
herself. I just meant more like, how does that series of events, like, shape a person? And, like, I feel like her arc is incomplete if it just ends when he dies, you know?
Especially
Yeah,
if you're
that's
talking
fair.
about, like, fame and stuff. Like, why wouldn't, like, if she just goes on and continues to be famous and amazing singer after he
Right.
dies, like, that feels like a weird response, you know?
Exactly. Like, I want to see how her life changes, how her personality changes, how she adjusts her behavior in the wake of
How
something
she
like that.
approaches her career,
Instead
you know?
of just being like, he
Yeah.
died and it made her very sad, the end.
And then she wrote a song about it, and then she won $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's more like she is appreciative of their relationship, but it, like, the way that it's framed when she's singing the song, because it's a song that they wrote together, but you see them, this is, like, the whole style of the movie where, like, Bradley Cooper will cut earlier than you'd expect a scene to be cut, but then
Right.
it pays off later in the movie. So you see them writing the song together, but you never hear them perform it. And then she goes to perform it at, like, the next award ceremony or whatever. And then, like, it cuts back to them singing it together. So
Right.
it's not like it feels like she's, like, skyrocketed to fame because of him. And it's more, you do see that, like, what matters to her isn't this, like, this platform that he's given her, but, like, their relationship. And I think
Right.
that's the point of the movie.
Gotcha.
Tricky.
Anyway,
But
movie,
I
though.
think we should watch the Judy Garland one, because it's interesting how Judy Garland's character, it is, like, this star, but Judy Garland in real life was actually experiencing the similar trajectory as the, like, main male character. I don't know his name.
Okay, I'm gonna start to
Interesting.
go, I think. Because
Me
I
too.
think,
I've had fast
I
food way for me.
think we're done. But here's what I'll say
Yeah.
before or I'll stop the stream. We could just talk about this as people.
As people.
Not that I
Get
don't
You
you
get
want
people
the
right now.
to know.
exclusive content.
Not that I don't want
Yeah.
people to know what we're about to say, just that I don't think it would be interesting or just talking shop. And stream.
Shop
and
talk.
hey, thank you guys. Thank you so much. I didn't mean to just end dismissively. Thank you guys for being
Yeah,
here.
have a
We
good
appreciate
night,
you.
everyone.
Goodbye.
night.
Thanks for showing up.
Thank you for your
Bye-bye.
ideas, Jared.
Yeah.
Gerald. Sorry, I called you Jared.
Boom.
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
Unsubscribe.